Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Bradenton City Council meeting Wednesday, May 13th, 2026 at 8:30 a.m. in City Hall Council Chambers. As we always do, we'll start out our meeting with an invocation and a pledge. And Pastor Don Steriano with Kingdom Life Christian Church and chaplain for the city of Bradenton. Everyone, please stand.
Everyone.
Thank you.
Would you bow your heads, please? Father, thank you for our city, our leaders, every department head, every agency. We just bless them. We thank you specifically today for Public Works and all that they do. It's important. It's a big deal. Father, I'm just reminded of Proverbs chapter 29, verse 2, that says, when the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice. So thank you, Father, for a city that honors you. Bless this meeting. Bless all of the decisions that are made and guide them and give them the wisdom of Christ and his mind of the Spirit. In Jesus' name. And everyone said, Amen.
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 Please join us in the pledge. I pledge the
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And remind everybody, if you could please silence any devices you have, we would appreciate it. At this time, we'll call the meeting to order. Madam Clerk.
The first item on the agenda is a proclamation for National Public Works Week, May 17th through the 23rd, 2026. Rooted in service, powered by community. Whereas public works and utilities professionals are dedicated to developing, maintaining, and improving infrastructure, facilities, and services that are vital to the sustainability, resilience, and continued growth of the city of Bradenton, and essential to public health, safety, high quality of life, and well-being of our community. And whereas these critical infrastructure systems, facilities, and services are made possible through the tireless and dedicated efforts of public works and utilities professionals, including maintenance staff, field workers, engineers, managers, and employees at all levels of government and the private sector, who are responsible for rebuilding, improving, protecting, and safeguarding our nation's transportation systems, water supply, water treatment, solid waste management systems, public buildings, and other vital structures and facilities. And whereas it is in the public interest of the citizens, civic leaders, and youth of the city of Bradenton to gain knowledge of, maintain an ongoing interest in, and fully appreciate the importance and impact of public works and utilities programs within their community. And whereas the year 2026 marks the 66th annual National Public Works Week, sponsored by the American Public Works Association. Now therefore be it resolved that I, Jean Brown, as mayor of the city of Bradenton, Florida, do hereby proclaim May 17th through the 23rd, 2026 as National Public Works Week, and urge all citizens to join with representatives of the American Public Works Association and local government agencies in activities, events, and ceremonies designed to recognize and pay tribute to our public works and utilities professionals, engineers, managers, and employees, and to honor the substantial contributions they make to protect public health, ensure safety, and advance the quality of life for all. Signed, Jean Brown, Mayor.
Thank you. And who do we have accepting this today? We might as well get everyone else to start walking up now and stand behind Irv.
And a team of friends.
Bring all our team of friends up.
I'll start organizing.
Line up behind them, and then we'll turn around in a second.
Turn it an angle.
Colonel, do you want to say something first?
All the way in, John.
Good morning, Mayor.
Yeah.
Good morning.
Irvin Lee, Director of Public Works and Utilities.
You're going to have to articulate a little bit louder.
The word community is in this year's theme.
Right.
And it reflects not only the community we serve, but the community and the partnership within Public Works. You heard all the different categories of folks who make up our team, but the teamwork that we display working together to provide service to the community is just the heart of what we're celebrating here next week.
Thank you. We appreciate you guys. Let's give them a round of applause and we'll get a picture. Mr. Perry. Squeeze together. Mr. Perry's got something to say as well.
Mayor and Council, I just want to take a minute to recognize these folks and the job they do for the community, for the administration, for the council, and the totality of Bradenton. Our city has about 600 employees. Out of that 600, about 275 of those employees, so almost half of them are within the Public Works and Utilities Department. And what you don't see a lot of times is, maybe you only see one piece of it, is what they have to do. And you know, it's a mix really of hard labor work where you'll see people underground with shovels, with equipment. You'll see engineers basically trying to figure things out with very technical expertise. You'll see, you know, the issue regarding safety with people in aerial positions, and again, people underground. And it's just, it's an amazing to watch these folks work. And if you want an appreciation of watching people work and how they do things, they do it with passion, with intelligence, with caring. Just take an hour and watch any of these divisions within it work, whether it's solid waste or whether it's even street. You know, we see Downtown Action Team every morning we come into work, right? And just, they do such a good job. And it's almost a thankless job because we expect it almost as citizens. And it's good that we do. But that's who delivers the bacon, who's in front of us. And my hat goes off to them. We do what we can to support them. We do what we can to basically provide them the resources necessary. And Lord forbid, when you see it in terrible conditions like hurricanes, boy, the complexity of incident control and command of this unit for the city to button down the hatch and to be able to recover afterwards. It's an honor to see it. It really is, and I would put them up against anybody in their field. And so I think it's a great recognition.
Thank you, Mr. Perry. Councilwoman Barnaby.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I've said this before, and I'll say it again. Our citizens may never need to call a police officer. They may never have a fire and need the fire department. They may never get a building permit. They may never need to set up a business account for their business with Bill Ackles. However, every citizen that we have wants to see their toilet flush every day. Every citizen that we have wants their garbage picked up. Every citizen we have wants to drive on a safe street. So you all, maybe you don't realize it, but you all are the face of the city to all of our residents. And we thank you for your integrity, your hard work, and your dedication to our community.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm going to keep it simple. The Friendly City, you are the ambassadors of the Friendly City. You make it the Friendly City. And we appreciate you.
And we're not going to go back 2 years, but we're going to go back 2 years coming into hurricane season. It was an honor, obviously, then, and for all of you, for us up here and the elected officials, as well as the citizens, on that Saturday morning when we met with administration and said, can we get people to come up on Sunday morning after, as probably the two of you had flooding in your houses, one of them more than others, and just got back in it, but to get a crew of 20 on Sunday morning to start the cleanup over on Riverside Drive East and around there.
At 6 a.m.
At 6 a.m. And just an honor to have worked with you at that point and continuing to work with you. And that's what's made this job easier and what people see. And just, I know some of you have moved into different positions that could actually pick up a dime off the ground with that claw truck. It's amazing to see what you do and every day. And thank goodness we didn't have anything last year, but we're ready this year if something happens to protect our citizens. So thank you very much,
Mayor, I'd like-
and we all do it. Mr. Williams?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, everybody said very positive things, and I echo all of that. I just want to say real quickly, I've been able to work with a lot of these folks shoulder to shoulder, and very proud to be a part of their team and support anything that they do for our citizens. But much like Mr. Perry said, I would put our group up against any other public works group anywhere, quite frankly. The dedication, the heart, and the soul this group has.
Yes.
Very proud of this group, very much so.
Thank you very much.
Yeah,
And
man, right there.
let's get a picture. We probably should have had David bring in the drone to get the whole picture today.
I think I got a short
You got
person.
it, line.
Yeah, let's,
You want me to switch?
no, I want you to turn a little bit that way. You know, do the 45 thing like,
Like Rob always tells us.
Right.
yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Taking one out.
Okay, if that works for you.
It'll have to work till they're ready. Hey, you gotta make light of things when they're there.
Yeah.
That's what the small stuff.
10P.
Yep. Yeah. Madam Clerk,
Our next proclamation today is Military Recognition Day, May 25th, 2026. Whereas the city of Bradenton proudly recognizes the men and women of the United States Armed Forces who have served and continue to serve in defense of our nation. And whereas the sacrifices made by service members and their families safeguard the freedom enjoyed by all citizens. And whereas U.S. Army Specialist Nicholas Panapinto, a 20-year-old Bradenton resident, honorably served his country as an infantryman with the 1st Cavalry Division and tragically lost his life in November 2019 during a training exercise in South Korea. And whereas, while his life was cut short, Specialist Panapinto's service and sacrifice continue to inspire efforts to honor all those who wear the uniform and to ensure their legacy is never forgotten. And whereas Heather Christie, Specialist Panapinto's aunt, seeks to establish and sponsor a military recognition banner program that will display the photographs, branch of service, and period of service of local military members and veterans throughout the city. And whereas this program will serve as a visible and enduring tribute, fostering community pride, historical awareness, and gratitude for the contributions of our local heroes. And whereas the city of Bradenton commends Miss Christie for her vision and dedication in establishing the banner program and recognizes this initiative is a meaningful way to honor and remember the service of our military members and veterans. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Jean Brown, as mayor of the city of Bradenton, Florida, do hereby proclaim May 25th, 2026 as Military Recognition Day, and urge all citizens, businesses, and community organizations to participate in and support this banner program, ensuring that the legacy of service and sacrifice is visibly preserved for generations to come. Signed, Jean Brown, Mayor.
thank you. Do we have coming forward? Mr. Washington and family? Good morning.
Good morning, everyone.
If you can get as close to the microphone, that way you can pull it down a little bit if you want.
Thank you so much. Good morning. I'm Heather Christie. I'm Nicholas's aunt. This is my brother, Anthony Panapinto, Nicholas's father. I just wanted to show you all an example of the military banners that will be hopefully going up.
Yes.
And we can make any changes we want to and tweak things as we get this up and running. And thank you so much. This means the world to my family.
We want to make sure the banner's two-sided, so when we put them up, yeah, because
Okay.
you can see it from both sides on our poles.
Okay.
You know, we want to make sure it's correct.
something like this. Going in and out of town. I've seen this all over the United States, but we haven't had it in place yet, so my family was just thinking how wonderful that would be to support our military members.
And just from the city standpoint and a personal standpoint on mine, when we had the procession from Tampa Airport and back, it showed how people do support this country and honor things that happen in this case. And it still gives me that feeling of driving down and seeing all of the thousands of people in Hillsborough, Pinellas, Skyway Bridge, all the way down Manatee Avenue. So the sacrifice was large, but the love of the country is there. So anything we can do.
That was just absolutely breathtaking. It meant so much to us.
Yeah, that was an amazing,
It was a real
bittersweet.
loving moment and all of that. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yes. Vice Mayor Coker.
I just wanted to say, of course, thank you, but you said that this would mean the world to your family, but your sacrifice means the world to our country. So thank you. As a grateful American.
Thank you so much.
So let's get a picture, and you guys can stand in the middle there and hold it up, and then we'll all stand behind you. Thank you very much. Madam Clerk.
Our next proclamation is for Alpha Delta Pi 175th Anniversary Day, and I believe Councilwoman Barnaby will be reading that this morning.
Yes, just give me just a second. My niece was actually in JRTC with that.
With Nick, yeah.
Alpha Delta Pi 175th Anniversary Day, May 15th, 2026. Whereas Alpha Delta Pi celebrates their 175th anniversary of the founding of their sisterhood on May 15th, 2026, Alpha Delta Pi was the first secret sorority for college women to achieve this major milestone. Whereas founded in 1851 at the Wesleyan College in Macon, Georgia, by Eugenia Tucker, the first college chartered to grant degrees to women in the world. And whereas the organization's core values represent sisterhood, service, character, and knowledge. Their motto of Be the First represents their commitment to fostering a supportive community and helping women reach their full potential through leadership, education, and philanthropic opportunities. And whereas Alpha Delta Pi has 161 active collegiate chapters, with 11 chapters in Florida representing approximately 2,200 Florida undergraduate members. And whereas the members have a long-standing history of being committed to giving back to their community through their primary philanthropic partnership with Ronald McDonald House. They have partnered with the Ronald McDonald House since 1979, serving as one of the oldest corporate partners to support families with hospitalized children. The sorority has contributed over $24.5 million and supports roughly 40% of the Ronald McDonald House chapters through fundraising, volunteer work, and in-kind donations. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Jean Brown, as mayor of the city of Bradenton, Florida, do hereby proclaim May 15th, 2026 as Alpha Delta Pi 175th Anniversary Day, and urge all citizens to extend congratulations to their members for their philanthropic endeavors to enrich our community, and we wish them continued success. And it is signed by Mayor Jean Brown.
Thank you.
I
Who's
think
going to
we
be
have-
accepting?
Don't
We have somebody here?
We
Yep,
do.
there we are. If you'd like to say something, please come forward. Good morning.
Hi, good morning. Lee Yao and myself, Leslie Rogers, we're just really grateful for your recognition. You can see that we are not the collegians that you mentioned, but there are thousands of alumni members like us that are active in various ways, whether it's paying dues as alums, or volunteering with collegiate chapters to keep them strong, or just getting together, as we plan to do with others, on Friday for lunch and just, celebrate these milestones and our sisterhood.
I do think, as someone that, as a collegiate member that gave towards the Ronald McDonald House, supporting it as a fundraiser, to then come back and actually receive the benefit when I've had a child in the hospital at All Children, to be able to stay affordably at the Ronald McDonald House and to also receive meals within the hospital, that it is very heartwarming to me to know that what I had supported as a collegian has benefited my family since. So I do strongly support what we've done.
We appreciate it. Can we get a picture?
Sure.
And turn around, we'll all stand up here. Thank you very much. Madam Clerk.
We do not have any presentations this morning,
Okay.
Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. At this time, we're going to go to citizen comment. Citizen comment will be accepted during the citizen comment portion of the meeting on any non-agenda items, agenda items, future agenda item, or topic of relevance to the city. Comments will be accepted on the public hearings at the appropriate time. So at this time, I only have one that is a general citizen comment, and that's Ron Nernberger. Come forward and please state your name and your city of residence, or your county residence, and then you'll have 3 minutes.
Thank you. I'm Ron Nernberger, Bradenton resident, and also the president of the Bradenton Shuffleboard Club at 1525 Ballard Park Drive in Bradenton. Our club has been a part of this community for 103 years. We have served generations of not only seniors, but whomever wishes to play. And even though I stood here a year ago when the city informed us that they'd be closing our facility by March of 2028, as of yet today, there is no replacement plan or coordination with Manatee County for a replacement facility. I would consider it a travesty if the city simply let this club evaporate. Time is running out. Last week, I addressed the county commissioners as well. They also have not taken action. That is exactly why I'm asking today for the city and county together to identify a resolve to this issue. There are multiple parks in the county where a facility could be placed, such as the new development near Lemco Park, Gite Bray, Bennett Park, or Premier Sports Complex in Lakewood Ranch. And with the millions of dollars now being spent for new recreation facilities, money doesn't seem to be an object. Our Bradenton Club hosts national, state, and local tournaments. We have over 100 members and play year-round. We are also the home of the Southwest Coast District Hall of Fame, as well as its 103-year-old historical library. These also need to be preserved at a new site. The value of shuffleboard is threefold. 1, social interaction. 2, it is a sport for those who wish a more competitive nature or just for fun. And 3, it is less physically demanding, thus providing a venue for all ages. If the city and county want to be known for and advertise for a full menu of recreational activities and for current and future residents, then a facility for shuffleboard play is just as important as pickleball, tennis, baseball, or horseshoes. Therefore, again, I respectfully ask the council to begin identifying potential relocation sites, funding, and initiate a joint discussion with Manatee County. I hope to hear from you soon and wish to be part of those discussions. And before my closing, I was just texted before I came up here that Lee County is dedicating their new shuffleboard facility, which is really fantastic, in North Fort Myers, if you're looking for an example. In closing, let me just say this. This is not an issue about blame. To me, this is an issue about responsibility. Thank you.
Thank you. I have no other general citizen comment, so we'll close this part of the citizen comment portion. Mr. Nunberg, before you leave, I just want to address some of the things that were talked about there. We have came up with several alternatives that through our CRA, through our county, our city staff, the county, but there has been places identified, and we've also came up with some funding to help move and do things. So to say that we haven't done anything is just not true. And we've been working with them, to also get them funding. We've got a private donation for them, and we found courts that they would meet, that would meet their needs, and a building. But it's in another mobile home park, and it would have to be worked in collaboration together. But there's been several meetings, and that has been talked about. So we're still trying to work, with them and help them. But, that's kind of where it's at now, and we will continue to do that. So thank you. At this time, anybody have other comments? Oh, all right, thank you. At this time, I'm going to, let me get my glasses on here. I'm going to go ahead and move up 8, which is new business, and 9, which is unfinished business, before we do consent agenda. So, Madam Clerk, if we could read those in at this time.
Item 8A is the Bradenton Riverwalk Half Marathon.
Okay. Good morning.
I'm Kelly Thomas, the Event Review Committee Coordinator. We're bringing one application for you to look at today, and it is the Bradenton Riverwalk Half Marathon to be held on February 28th, 2027. The reason we're bringing it before you today is because it will require FDOT approval to close the bridge, City of Palmetto approval as well. So it's going to be a three approval process. So as I've said before, FDOT does not accept any approvals on consent agendas, so that's why you're reviewing this one individually. They do have an expectation of about 270 people participating. This is an event that they had tried to do this particular year that they were not able to get the approvals in time. So they're going to try it again. So I think they have a better understanding now of what they have to do to actually approve this event. So anyway, it is going to go over the Green Bridge, circle around on the Palmetto Pier, and come back down on Riverwalk. So we're looking for approval for that today. Do you have any questions?
Any questions of Ms. Thomas? Mr. Perry, you did have a chance, as normal, to go over the agenda with all council members?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So questions could have been answered early, but is there anything, or the chair will entertain a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve. I can't see
Event Review
anything,
Committee. Yep. Okay, so we got a motion by Vice Mayor Coker. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Kemp Schuessler, Councilman. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll start the vote in Ward 4.
Yes.
5.
Yes.
1.
Yes.
2.
Yes.
3.
Yes.
Carries 5-0. Thank you very much. Madam Clerk, I guess we'll go to Mr. Perry on the next.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. On item 8B, as advanced in the agenda, this basically calls for the contract and purchase and sale, basically, of a parcel of property related to Tropicana. If the council remembers, and it's outlined fairly in detail within the agenda memo, we had purchased a combination of 2 parcels related to Tropicana properties, which they had offered for sale. It was a 28.4 acre parcel divided by 9th Street East, and on the other side of that was 4.2 acres. And As determined by our architects when we've done the site plan development, the intention of the purchase was to place Public Works and the various divisions within Public Works on that Tropicana site. So we did a very detailed site plan as how we would construct that, lay it out, design it, and the like. And it became apparent that the parcel that was on the east side of 9th Street was really not necessary. And so we considered what we could do with it. We considered the fact that we would put a temporary solid waste facility there while we move out from solid waste by Lecom Park currently for development of City Park, because that's one of the first areas that we have to vacate in order to build City Park. But the construction cost for that became cost prohibitive, and we kind of came up with an alternative to put solid waste back onto the main parcel. That being the case, we ended up with a piece of property that had come to the council before and was approved for surplus. We put it out for surplus in an advertising as required by law. There was no responses of interest at that time as a surplus property throughout that solicitation. And so we got with our real estate agent and asked for not an appraisal, but a market consideration of what he thought the value was, his agency. And they came back at $2.15 million to, I believe it was $2.2 million at the time. I'd driven the site. I know the mayor had, Lance, and a host of other people. It's a fairly limited site because it's narrow and deep. And we asked what the best in use, the best and highest use would be for that property. And the realtor said, well, it's zoned for heavy industrial. It's not particularly visible from the roadway, so something like a self-storage may be a good use. And we all are big fans of self-storage on major arterials and downtown areas like we have, unfortunately. And so we thought, well, that's good. So we ended up having our realtor put it out on what's called Demand Star. It's similar to the MLS for commercial properties, the multi-listing service. And we got an inquiry back of an interested party that wanted to buy the property before you was the purchase and sales agreement to sell that property to us for $2.1 million. It's important to realize that the totality of the 32 acres cost us approximately, I think it was $4.85. That's what we paid for it, $4,850,000, and we're able to, and it was 32 acres. We're able to sell this particular piece of property that, again, isn't the most desirable configuration of property for $2.15 million. So we're almost able to recover half of it by selling 4 of the 32 acres of the total purchase price. One of the things of value over there is that there is a sign, a large advertising sign that's currently in place. It's currently under contract to 2027, and it generates revenue. Currently, it's operated by, I think it's Olympic Outdoors, but it's contracted till 2027 with Tropicana. They're the advertiser on the sign. It's a nice sign. It says, you know, it highlights Bradenton as the headquarters of Tropicana, and start your day with a nice glass of Tropicana orange juice. I kind of like it and everything. That sign does expire again in 2027. There's a value to that sign that's included in that $2.15 million. Absent that, carving it out, the value of the property was actually about $1.5 million. So we're asking for your approval to basically surplus and sell this property. There is a contingency within the purchase and sales agreement that the sign be approved as a digitalized sign, which is kind of what's going on with large signs. There aren't a whole lot of signs in the city of Bradenton. I think this is the third. We had only 2 until we annexed the property, the Tropicana property itself. There is one by San Diocasiano, I believe, on 48th Street East. It advertises the inlets and is visible from Interstate 75. Of course, we all know that the inlets were actually completed construction and sold out 10 years ago, thereabouts, and it still has the same sign. The second one was one that you all approved related to the Starbucks area, and that had to go through the planning process and ultimately through the planning commission, as I remember, for a kind of adjustment for approval. I think is what Mr. Long told me. I'm getting a nod.
Starbucks and Kentucky
Yeah.
Fried Chicken.
Yeah, right.
between that.
Yep. So that's kind of the details on this particular sale. Yep.
Chair will entertain a motion, and we'll have any discussion.
Can I just add one additional thing to that? The proceeds from the sale, because the property was purchased through about 90% enterprise, was it? 80%? Yeah.
It was a split between,
It was a split between solid waste enterprise and water sewer enterprise, and then general fund. We had to do the allocation. The money will come back in that proportionate allocated amount into our reserve so that we can dedicate it to building public works and other capital projects.
All right. Chair will entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
motion to approve the contract for purchase and sale of 2115 9th Street East and authorize the mayor to execute all documents necessary to finalize the sale upon the completion of the due diligence period.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion?
I just have a quick question.
Yes, ma'am.
And maybe it's for Mr. Rudisill. Should we mention anything to what Mr. Perry just said about we're allocating those, we're reimbursing the reserves from the two enterprises in the general? Or is that not necessary?
I don't think it's necessary. I mean, it's just an accounting function, but.
Yeah, you're exactly right. It's an accounting function that we have to do by state statute, so, yeah.
Thank you. Hearing no further questions, we'll start the vote in Ward 5.
Yes.
1,
Yes.
2,
Yes.
3,
Yes.
4.
Yes.
Thank you. Carries 5-0. All right, and then next, under unfinished business, number 9. So, Mr. Rudisill, we need to have a discussion about this, but someone has to bring up a motion to take it off the table, or?
Somebody needs to make a motion
Okay.
to pull it off the table.
All right, is there a motion to pull this off the table? Second extension of the contract between the City of Bradenton and the Bradenton Area Economic Development Corporation?
I'll make the motion.
Okay. Ms. Coker, is there a second?
Second.
All right, Ms. Coachman. All right. We did have a workshop where we had extensive discussion about this.
Mayor,
Yes, sir.
to vote on.
Oh, vote on that, you'll be right. So, all right, we have a motion and a second to pull it off of the table. We'll start the vote in Ward 1,
Yes.
2,
Yes.
3,
Yes.
4,
Yes.
5.
Yes.
Carries 5-0. Okay, now, discussion. And like I said, we did have, we had a workshop last week where we had extensive discussion, as well as the previous meeting, a very long discussion. So, any comments, or we'll accept a motion to move forward?
Mayor, if I could just point out,
Yes, sir,
at that
Mr.
last
Perry.
meeting when it was tabled, I had asked that council submit to either directly to EDC or myself for relay to EDC, what some of the issues that they wanted to improve upon in the contract and other things. And by and large, pretty much everybody did that, either themselves individually or sent it to me and I forwarded it on. So there was, and also EDC, I believe, individually met with a vast majority of the councilors and met with me at length as well. So there was a lot of work that was done to allay some of the concerns of council and to provide more specificity. I think it was a productive thing to do. I know it wasn't the most comfortable for a lot of folks, I guess is the right term to use. But I think generally speaking, my takeaway from talking with council about it is that it was productive, and talking with EDC is that it was productive, and we'll be in a better place because of it.
Good. Nope, and we appreciate all the discussions and the way things went. We appreciate the EDC and interim executive director for a short more time, possibly, doing a great job and taking on that task. All right, so Chair will entertain a motion to approve the second extension of the contract between the City of Bradenton and the Bradenton Area Economic Development Corporation.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, ma'am. Ms. Kitchman.
motion to approve the second extension of the contract with the Bradenton Area Economic Development Corporation.
Second.
Second. We have a motion by Councilwoman Coachman, a second by Councilwoman Barnaby. Again, we've had extensive discussion, so we'll start the vote in Ward 2,
Yes.
3,
Yes.
4,
Yes.
5,
Yes.
1.
Yes.
Carries 5-0. Thank you. I didn't see, you didn't have your computer up. We are going to take a 5-minute recess now. They're trying to fix the computers up here. So bathroom break and a 5-minute recess. We'll come out of recess. Madam Clerk?
Item 6 is the consent agenda, and staff is requesting approval of items A through O.
All right. I know Mr. Perry has, like you said, had his couple meetings with everybody, gone over everything. So at this time, the chair will entertain a motion for consent agenda.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, ma'am.
motion to approve consent agenda 6A through 6O.
6-0, yep. Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Schuessler. All right. We'll start the vote in Ward 3,
Yes.
4,
Yes.
5,
Yes.
1,
Yes.
2.
Yes.
Approved 5-0. Thank you. Madam Clerk?
At this time, I'll administer the oath. Anyone wishing to speak during the following public hearing, so please stand and raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the factual statements and representations which you're about to present to this board will be truthful and accurate? Thank you. Item 7A is Resolution 2628, and this is also a public hearing related to a major amendment to the Jordan Creek East Plan Development.
Okay. Staff present.
All right, good morning, council. My name is Jamie Schindewolf. I am a member of the planning staff and I have been sworn. I'm here before you today to present the staff presentation and analysis of PLN MAJ 25001, Resolution 2628. As stated, this is a major plan development plan amendment request for properties located at 1201 27th Street East and 2906 29th Avenue East. You can see here the case information. This is a 12.19 acre property, currently zoned plan development. Future land use is medium density residential. And we do have a representative of the applicant here as well to answer any questions you may have for them and give a presentation. This is the subject parcel, as you can see, bounded by 11th Avenue East to the north, 27th Street East to the west, adjacent to River Run Way there. The future land use, as stated, is Res Med, or medium density residential, which allows for 10 units per acre. The option that is being presented to you today would result in a density of approximately 8.7 dwelling units per acre. They already have an approved PDP for 33 single-family attached buildings, with each dwelling unit on its own individual lot, for a total of 66 units. You can see here, again, the zoning is plan development. Option A, as I just mentioned, was approved in 2023, and that option is something they still would like to possibly be able to pursue. But today they're coming before you with a request to also be approved for a second option, which is option B, for a residential development containing 106 residential units, which is a mixture of 4-unit and 6-unit townhomes. This is the site plan that was presented with this application. It's largely the same general layout as option A, which is the approved PDP. The roads are not changing and the amenity center location is still in the same spot. These are the proposed dimensional standards for this option B. It's fairly consistent with our setbacks in our general zoning districts. And when we're considering a PDP and whether or not to approve it, there is a list of standards in our land development regulations. The first is density. This does meet the density provided for in the future land use. But I did want to point out that there is a statement in the code that does state that the maximum density is not guaranteed. Quality of design, contribution to public facilities if needed, open space and recreation, et cetera, can all be considered when you are considering a request for a plan development project. Regarding open space, this proposed development contains approximately 4.15 acres, or roughly 34% of the project in open space. They are providing recreation area. They're proposing 1.41 acres, which is in excess of the 1 acre per 200 dwelling units required in the code. They are providing a compacted pedestrian path with benches and trees around the retention pond and a space for passive recreation in the middle of the site. Regarding parking and vehicular access, they are providing sufficient parking for their proposed units, but I did want to point out that the code does indicate that applicants should provide a thorough analysis of the surrounding roadways and how they'll be affected, and I do believe the applicant is prepared to speak more on that issue. As far as building setbacks go, as stated, the proposed development meets the required minimum setbacks, as the front yard minimum is 20 feet and the secondary is 15 feet. Regarding buffers, I do need to point out that they are requesting a reduction from the required 25-foot buffer to a 20-foot wide buffer, with plantings to be located near the outer 10, or within the outer 10 feet, excuse me, of that 20-foot buffer. This is something the code states that the board can approve a reduction in that buffer, and this matches a reduction that they received when the board approved option A. They are requesting this to avoid utility and drainage easements and to not interfere with the safe operation and maintenance of infrastructure and easement areas. Regarding accessory structures at Planning Commission, the applicant did indicate that any accessory structure, though none are proposed, sheds, things like that, which are not typical in a townhome community, but we like to cross our T's and dot our I's. The applicant did indicate that if any accessory structures are proposed in the future, they will meet the standard of 5 feet setbacks. A neighborhood activity center is included in the standards, but it's optional and they are not proposing one. Regarding contributions to public facilities, there are notes in the code that the board is able to stipulate approval of a PDP to require improvements to public facilities. Required improvements need to be relative to the impacts caused by that proposed PDP. And I do want to note that this did come for a pre-application meeting before many of our city departments, and there was no indication by Public Works at that pre-application meeting that this project would necessarily require improvements to public services. Of course, once they hit the site improvement permit process, which is when they really get into the underground construction and all of the infrastructure allowances, something could come up that they would need to increase capacity, something like that. So to summarize, it does appear at this time the proposed request largely meets the requirements set forth in the land use regulations. City Council does need to remember to consider that request for the reduced buffer. Staff has received correspondence from citizens with concerns about the development, and all of those messages have been forwarded to all of you. And on April 15th, the Planning Commission voted 5-1 to recommend approval. Thank you.
Okay, and thank you, Jamie. I will say something to the citizens and all that. This is quasi-judicial, so I'm going to ask the council and myself in a moment. But all of the emails that you send us, because it is quasi-judicial, I don't respond and shouldn't respond back because that's the law as much. So it's not that we ignored you. It's we got them, we read them, and that's part of it. But does any council members have anything to say to if there was any
Ex parte
ex parte communication? Anybody? Okay.
I think I had a phone call, but I didn't really know what they were talking about when they called at first. I said I hadn't seen anything on it, so
okay.
That's the only thing.
Mr. Mayor,
yes,
I also received 2 phone messages which have been forwarded to the public record, and I did not call the individuals back in an abundance of caution to make sure that I'm following the quasi-judicial rules.
Yep. So, and again, everything was forwarded that we all got, so it's all in record. So, all right, do we want to have the applicant?
Can I ask?
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Sorry, Ms.
Yeah.
Vice Mayor Coker.
Can you explain to me the difference between a front yard setback and a secondary front yard setback? What's a secondary setback?
For a corner lot.
Okay. Okay, and are they required to have any parking? Like, are they required to have a garage or anything like that?
They are not required to have a garage. but they are, I had a note of it. I believe they will have garages, and also obviously the driveway space, and then they have additional parking here. I know it's really hard to see, but they do have some additional parking here near the pond and the passive recreation area as well.
Okay, thank you.
Will there be street parking?
I don't think there is an intention to have marked street parking.
All right, so maybe that's a question when they come up they can talk about. Okay, so thank you, Jamie, and we'll let the applicant talk before we go to the public hearing. Good morning.
Good morning, City Council. My name is Josh Slaw. I'm a planner with Pape Dawson, and I have been sworn in this morning. Today we're here to talk about Jordan Creek, a major plan development amendment. With me today, I also have Theo Petrus from Landis, Evans & Partners, and we do have Matt Morris from Pape Dawson as well. So to just kind of go over the same things that Jamie just said there. So the location is east of 27th Street and south 11th Avenue East. This is a major plan development plan amendment to the approved Jordan Creek development. Parcel size is around 12.19 acres. And there is an associated petition with this, which is 234841, otherwise known as option A. So here you can see the location map on your screen here. So once again, east of 27th Street East and south of 11th Avenue. You can see the site area outlined in red. So like I mentioned, this is a PDP request. The proposed option B is not to supersede the already approved Jordan Creek East, which is option A, but just to provide another additional option to develop this property that we can choose between. So here's the proposed site plan in front of your screen here. So we're looking at 106 residential units. These would be split between 4-unit and 6-unit townhomes. Like I had mentioned, this is a option B to the already approved option A. As it was stated, there is 34% open space, 237 parking spaces are provided, split between both residential and visiting parking spaces. We are proposing a maximum building height of 35 feet, and something that did come up at Planning Commission that wanted to bring up here is a POA will be implemented with this development. So here you can see the zoning map. The property is zoned PDP, or Plan Development Project. You can see the site area outlined in red on your screen there. Here you can see the future land use of ResMed, medium density residential, up to 10 units per acre. I did want to state that the development project will come in at about 8.69 units per acre, so it is within the allowable up to 10 units per acre. Did also want to state that the property directly to the south of us comes in at about 9.9 units per acre, so we are even less than that. So you've heard me talk a lot about the approved option A. Here you can see it on the screen in front of you. So this was approved back in January of 24 for 66 residential units. And like it was mentioned, we did request and get approval of that reduction standard from 25 feet to 20 feet to put with additional plantings for that utility and drainage easements that runs along the property lines. Here you can actually see the two projects side by side. So as you can see, there's no change in stormwater, there's no change in access, there's really no change in the buffering, no change in the amenity, location of the amenity standards or the walk path along the retention pond. Really what you're looking at here is the change from duplex to townhomes with a slight increase in units, a few additional parking spaces towards the middle of the site where the passive recreation area would be, and you can actually see some of where the area is just to the west of the retention pond. So here's the proposed color site plan. So once again, 106 residential units. We are providing 12% recreational space, which is above code. 237 parking spaces are permitted. And something else that we are adding is a waste compactor per LUR 9.1.2, which we will actually talk a little bit later about. So as it relates to the proposed setbacks, So you can see the proposed front setback of 20 foot. The secondary front, like what was mentioned, is 15 feet. So what that is that's looking at the corner lots that would meet. So you have 20 feet where the driveway would be and 15 feet on the side. We have a side yard setback of 10 and a rear of 20. We are not providing any accessory structures with this. However, if accessory structures will come in, as these are owned townhomes, they will have to comply with section 5.1.2, allowing that 5-foot rear and side setback. As it relates to parking, there's 237 parking spaces provided for the entire development. 212 parking spaces are dedicated to residents per LUR section there, and 25 parking spaces for visitors and that rec space are also provided per that code section as well. We are not necessarily providing on-street parking, as we have met all the requirements for parking as outlined in the plan. As it relates to access to the property, there's actually 3 accesses to this. So one off of 11th Avenue, one off of 27th Street, and one interconnected road through River Run Way. These are all publicly maintained roadways. Along with that, we are proposing a 5-foot sidewalk to the north along 11th Avenue. There's a 5-foot existing sidewalk along 27th Street, and we are providing a 5-foot internal sidewalk throughout the development. And at this time, I'd like to invite up Theo from Landis Evans to talk about some of the traffic issues.
Thank you. My name is Theo Petrich. I work for Landis Evans and Partners, and yes, I have been sworn. The change in traffic is it goes down, and the reason for this is because when we did the original analysis, we assumed single-family detached houses. Single-family detached houses are typically have more people living in them. There are more trips associated with if you own a house versus if you rent. There's large yard maintenance. You're doing more maintenance inside. It's just a different character of owner in general. I also want to say that I don't make numbers up. My staff is prohibited from torturing numbers because then I have to stand in front of you nice people and explain what those numbers are. These numbers are based literally on the numbers in these 2 tables are based on almost 190 something studies that have been done at sites like this around the country. So the reason the single family looks larger is because we assume single family instead of like the duplex or something else, which would have had a smaller number of trips. As you go to a single-family attached unit, the 106 units, the trips actually go down to from 86 trips in the PM peak to 60 trips in the PM peak. I looked at that yesterday. I've been at this for 30 years, and every time I it's based upon a book called the Institute of Traffic and Transportation Engineers Trip Generation. When I did this, I think I was in trip generation 10. I think now we're in trip generation 12. The numbers have been going down for the last 30 years. And they really took a dive during COVID because more people are working from home. The style of entertainment at night, instead of going to the movies, we frequently have, staying at home, Netflix and chill kind of nights. So the studies, as you progress through time, are actually showing less and less trips from each individual unit. Having said that, I looked at it again. The trips are still down from single-family units to single-family attached. We went from 60 trips in the total PM peak for single-family attached down to 54 with the new version of ITE, and that represents a change in character of our lifestyles over the last several years since that data's come out. They don't throw out the old data, they just keep adding new data. So the impacts may actually be greater than that. Let's see if I can do this. Another thing we were asked to do was look at the roadway. We looked at the roadway and said, should a turn lane go in here? Well, when you look at a roadway to determine whether or not a turn lane should go in there, you look at several things. There's this big document, again, it's done by the National Academies of the Sciences, and because they're the National Academy of Sciences, they like printing lots of paper, and it's a National Cooperative Highway Research Program report that dictates how the DOT and how the mandates how the DOT and how cities and how counties determine whether or not you need turn lanes. First thing you do is you go out and say, well, are there any turn lanes on this roadway, because you don't want to dramatically change the character of the road. So for design consistency, no, there's no other turn lanes on this road. Well, should there be left turn lanes on this road? Well, that's an excellent question. I've done 30 years in safety. I really want to know the answer to that question. So we went out and we looked at the crashes on the roadway, and we looked at the crashes. There have been crashes on the roadway. We also looked at the types of crashes and read every individual crash report, none of those crashes would have prevented by the addition of a left turn lane on that roadway. So we did our due diligence there. We looked and we found that how much are people being delayed? There's a development just south of there, River Trace, which has a higher density than this one, about 40% higher than this one. And the average delay to people on the roadway, this is all cars going down the road, so including people who don't want to turn into River Trace, was less than a second. The people turning into River Trace were delayed less than about 10 seconds. When they wanted to turn left into River Trace. So if you're doing level of service analysis at an intersection, that's how well the intersection performs. For the users, that's a level of service A. You're going to be delayed turning into your house, absolutely, because you're on a road and cars are coming from the other direction. But you're not going to be delayed that long getting into your house, and we went out and we measured it. This wasn't part of the required traffic study. We did this because we wanted to know whether or not a left turn lane was the right thing to do. It didn't meet it does not meet the warrants for a left turn to be going in there. The other thing I know that's going to come up is well, what about 27th? We're down to about 35 exiting trips in the PM peak, about 54 to 60 trips total. If I went out and counted the traffic at 27 and Manatee today, and I counted it tomorrow, the difference would be more than those trips. And that assumes every single vehicle coming out of the development turns north and goes up to Manatee, which is not likely to be the case. The intersection at Manatee, is there delay up there? Oh, yeah, I noticed that. Yes, there is delay up there. I would say that the state gives preference to the state road. So if any decent traffic engineer could go out there and look at the timing and tell you how to reduce delay on 27. It wouldn't be hard to reduce delay on 27. The problem is DOT does not look primarily at delay on 27. They look at delay on the main line, because once you get on the main line, they want you to keep going. And if you reduce the delay to every side street, then once all those people come off the side streets, they have to stop a lot more when they're on the main line. They just assume get people on the main line and let them keep going. So while we could possibly make a recommendation on changing signal timing, DOT won't accept it because DOT prioritizes their roadways and they time for their roadways. So signal timing is not an option I'm allowed to propose, nor do I think I would at that location, again, because it's overall delay, not singular delay. With that, I'm going to turn it back over to Josh.
Thank you. Any questions before, with why he's up there? No? Or we can come back to him too if you want. Okay, all right.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Theo, for that rundown. I do have hard copies of both that left turn lane study and the short version of that traffic impact study that I can turn into the record if we do want to see that as well. As Theo mentioned, just to kind of hit it one more time, we're looking at 60 p.m. peak hour trips for this. This would be a negative 26 net change in trips. We did look at left turn lanes, and they would not be required. And this, we would actually prefer this to be viewed as a reduction in traffic. So to kind of go past traffic here, now we're on to proposed landscaping. There are 77 trees to be preserved with this development, around 214 trees to be planted. Any additional trees that would be required, we will pay into the mitigation fund for. As it was previously mentioned, and this is the same thing that is a carryover from option A, we are asking for the reduction from section LUR 341 AVI from a 25-foot perimeter buffer to a 20-foot buffer with plantings located within that outer 10 feet of that 20-foot wide buffer. This is to avoid any utility and drainage easements, and like I said, this was approved with option A. We are just trying to keep that consistency. As it relates to landscaping and screening, here you can kind of see I've color-coded it to make it easy. So on the north side of the property, we have a 6-foot PVC fence along 11th Avenue. We're showing a 6-foot PVC fence for properties backing up to that recreational area there towards the middle of the property. And then along 27th Street, we are showing additional shrub screening along that area. And then obviously to the east, we do have the vegetation and retention buffers to any additional residential properties to the east. As it relates to drainage and utilities, all our public utilities will be connected to the property. They all run down 27th Street. That involves a 12-inch water main, a 6-inch force main, and an 8-inch wastewater line as well. Something that came up during Planning Commission, and we wanted to bring it up here as well, as per code, LUR 9.1.2 states that all non-residential entities and residential buildings with 4 or more dwelling units shall fall under commercial waste service categories and require a compactor. This is something that we talked about with Planning Commission. With these being individually owned townhomes, future residents, us, the clients, would obviously prefer can service at this location. It's kind of interesting to require compactor for individually owned units that do have garages. So we did want to bring that to your attention as well.
Please.
Relating to findings of fact for this development, so the proposed Jordan Creek major PDP amendment is in compliance with your land use regulations, specifically sections 3.15 through 3.155 relating to compatibility in surrounding area. It is in compliance with the comprehensive plan residential medium future land use as required. It is consistent with the surrounding res med future land uses. And lastly, the property does not adversely affect the general health, safety, welfare, or general public. This design strives to provide excellence and neighborhood compatibility to the area. There is no historical resource impacts or environmental impacts on this site, and is considered a logical expansion to the adjacent zoning districts. And with that, we request your approval of this application, and myself or anybody from my team is available for questions.
All right. Any questions?
Should I ask now?
I've got
Yeah, ask now.
Okay, and I don't know if this is okay for me to ask, but just more about the details of the project. What are the square footages going to be on these units, gross and air conditioned?
I don't know that right off the top of my head. I can ask and get back to you here in just a second.
Okay, and then like bedrooms, baths, do you know, are they going to be 1-bedroom units, 3-bedroom, 4? I mean,
if you let me allow the applicant up here, I'm sure
Okay.
you can kind of discuss a little bit more information.
one more thing.
Go for it.
Price point.
Once again, I'll pass it on to
Okay.
All right, Ms. Moore, did you have something?
I did, it was regarding the traffic presentation. So you conducted a traffic study, or you just looked at the existing conditions?
We looked at the existing conditions, assumed growth to the build-out year, and the addition of the traffic from the site.
When you said that there was a reduction in trips by increasing the density, but you're still though opining that level of trips, whether it remains with option A or the reduced amount for option B, still the existing roadway conditions you think are suitable for this level of
Okay,
trips?
that's, in the interest of telling, that's an interesting question. I hadn't actually looked at that at the time, but I looked at it yesterday. The DOT has traffic counts online there at the site called Florida Traffic Online, and anybody can go look at them. And they also have a book called the Quality and Level of Service Manual for Roadways. If I'm insulting anybody's intelligence, I'm sorry. I don't know if you've heard this before. And what that table does is it tells you for a given type of roadway in a certain characteristic area, what is the maximum number of cars you can put down the road on a link and still maintain level of service D. Right now, that roadway, according to the DOT's generalized tables, I helped produce some of these 30 years ago, but I'm not involved in the ones that are in there now. There's like 400 to 600 cars afloat on that roadway before you hit level of service D for the roadway. So to the degree that I looked at it on a computer yesterday, and I compared the FDOT traffic counts, which were from last year, they were from 2025. They're just now getting back to pre-COVID conditions. They are, it falls, it does not, it falls under, it would still be a level of service D roadway. It does not break the threshold to a failing roadway, according to the level of service standards for the county and your LDC.
And then I thought I had one more. Oh, so when you're analyzing the trips, did you only look at 27th, or do you have any opinions or thoughts on how naturally, based on what the current site that is being proposed? In other words, what I'm getting at is 27th is probably the main thoroughfare, and I think everyone is thinking that naturally that's the one that's going to be used, but there's two other points of ingress and egress to the development, and those two other roads are much smaller.
Yes, when we do the analysis, we did look at all three, the three entrances when we originally did the analysis. We looked for turn lanes, we looked for whether, the capacity in and out, and all of them fell. Because of the volume, we were not required to do a super detailed look at each intersection, analyze the turning movements and all of that. That was because the volumes of roadway on the trips, the regulations did not require us to do that. It was more of a traffic statement than a detailed traffic impact study, simply because of the size of the site. But yes, we did look at the sites. We distributed out of the driveways. We did an estimation, talking with the city staff about where the trips would go, and we did our analysis based on that. So yes, we did.
I have a couple of procedural questions for Mr. Russo. Is now a good time?
Yes. We still have public hearings, so.
Oh, sure. Should I go ahead?
Yeah, if you wanted. So I think it's good, and I'm going to say the reason I want us up here to talk, because I want them to hear before they talk, because they may have a different view of something, the public, so after we're done, so.
I just was wondering, do we have leeway with a PDP amendment approval to request to ask for stipulations, or is this just a yes or no?
No, I mean, we can certainly request stipulations. Obviously, the applicant would need to agree to it, but I think the city council could request stipulations on a PDP.
And then if ultimately the answer is no today, do they get another bite of that apple if they go back and address some concerns or whatnot, or is today's decision definitive in that regard?
I mean, I guess it depends what today's decision is. I mean, if the project were denied, I don't know what, are you asking if there's a time frame for them to come back if the project were denied?
I was saying if we say no to the option B PDP amendment today, do they have the ability to address whatever concerns we had to then come back and ask for another option, another PDP amendment that potentially changes, addresses the concerns that we may or may not raise today?
Yeah, I'm not aware of anything that would prohibit them from coming back with a different plan.
But that's also where if we put stipulations and they don't agree to them, then they can't do it. If they agree to them, then that's what it is. So, Vice Mayor Coker and then Councilman Schuster.
Yeah, still trying to get a better feel for the project. Is this a gated community? Did I see that it was gated? And are these going to be public roads or private roads?
No, this will not be a gated development.
Okay.
Getting back to your questions about sizing and so on. So we're looking at these units being to like 3.2s to 3 2.5s, around 1,500 square feet, kind of depending on.
1,500? Is that gross or heated and cooled?
That'd be gross. And regarding price point, probably market rate, someplace along those lines.
Vice Mayor, anything else?
No, that's it. Thank you.
Councilman Schuster.
So regarding access points, I just wanted to be clear. 3 access points would be 11th, 27th, and River Run.
Correct.
Got it. And then the next question is regarding the PDP. I understand that PDPs are designed to allow developers maximum flexibility. And looking at the application, am I correct that everything, the application meets most of the required standards? And regarding density, it's under the max, open space, recreation, parking, and building setbacks.
Correct. It meets all of those requirements. The only reduction that we're asking for is that 25 to 20 foot outside landscape buffer, which we are providing additional landscaping for. And once again, that's a carryover from option A to make sure that everything is aligned.
Okay, so, yeah, and I think you just answered that. Regarding the buffer, option A was already approved with that exact same buffer.
Exactly.
Okay.
I think one of the things that was interesting with the traffic study is that actually sometimes more is less. And that's what we're looking at downtown in the city, that downtown, just because we're adding more residences, doesn't mean we add more traffic because of who lives there and what's happening. So that was interesting. So this Plan B creates less traffic by the traffic study.
Correct.
Didn't think of that. Anything else before we go to public hearing? All right.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. All right. At this time, we'll open the public hearing, and anyone wishing to speak. I do have some cards, but if you just want to come up and line up, that's fine, and then I'll check off, state your name and city of residence, and you'll have 3 minutes. Good morning.
Good morning, Mayor and council members. My name is Sandy Lohr. I live on 12th Avenue East, Manatee County in Bradenton. And thank you. We are not here today to oppose development. We're here to support the original proposed the original that has been approved. I would challenge some of the things said today. I think that the applicant, by referencing a 60% increase in units and calling that slight, is not representing what really is happening here. I would also say, and no disparaging remarks to the expert that was here talking about, Mr. Thiel, is that correct? But the same study that you're referencing, ITE, Institute of Transportation of Engineers, when you're increasing the number of units, unless there was something so egregiously wrong with your original presentation and numbers, to suggest that it is lowering the traffic is absurd. You're adding 40 additional units. That's an additional 250 to 300 cars moving and different deliveries, et cetera, that are happening on a daily basis. The total impact is 600 to 800 different traffic vehicles daily. That includes, according to the Institute of Transportation Engineers Trip Generation Manual, which you're referencing, and thank goodness for AI to help people like me to have access to what the gold standard is, to help with city planners and councils, et cetera, to understand this, that the standard duplex generates 10 to 12 trips per day. And that's because that includes all of your Amazon deliveries, your Amex deliveries, your FedEx deliveries, any food deliveries that you have. And that is something that is standard. And so for 104 units, you're talking 600 to 800 trips per day. And so the current ingress and egress points, as someone that's a walker every morning and lives there and walks this neighborhood, I can tell you that some of these egress points, such as the River Run, where you have a small little unit there, there's less than 20 homes. I would challenge all of us to consider what the council referenced this morning as we had our heroes here who serve us all, and that we all want safe driving roads, that we would consider this seriously and look at the impact that this is going to provide for hurricane recovery, policemen, firemen being able to get down these roads with the impact of the traffic and the parking situation. It's very scary to think of the impact and what could happen. I would also suggest that the council look at your own comprehensive plan, make sure that we are not looking at spot zoning and favoring a certain developer, and that we are looking at what's best for the interest of the community. And so with that, I would just encourage, based on the conversations, and I understand the emails. Thank you.
Who wants to come public hearing? Who wants to speak? Good morning. Please state your name and city of residence for the record.
Good morning, Susie Copeland, 1010 27th Street East, and I've been coming before not necessarily this council except for Mrs. Barnaby, for over 20-plus years, under a previous mayor. When they came in 2023, this council approved those 66 units, and I was willing to accept that. In spite of the increased traffic that was going to be imposed upon 27th Street East. We've got the same owner that was here 2023, just a different business name. They came before this council in good conscience, I would hope, and said we will build these 66 units. And now we're back 2026, and we want to increase it to 106. I live on 27th Street. 11th Street Avenue is right in front of my house, adjacent to my house. You've got River Run Way that's down further east of 27th Street. And that's going to allow traffic to come out on 27th Street East. Otherwise, they're going to go down Hubble Road and go around and get back on Manatee Avenue. During peak hours, AM, PM, traffic is backed up from Manatee Avenue all the way down to 26th Avenue. Those are the things that we occur each and every day on 27th Street. They're talking about townhouses. The community on 27th and surrounding, they're single-family homes. The only two-story development is south of them at River Trace. Let's be compatible to the existing neighborhood that's already there. And I hope that this is the last time that I will have to come before City Council to ask you to do the right thing for the residents that are currently living there and have no intentions of moving. So please deny. They have option A that was approved. We're willing to live with that. Why two plans? You got their plan approved in 2023. Why come back, ask for an additional increase? Let's put it to rest today, City Council. Thank you for your consideration, and I hope truly this is the last time. Think about the neighbors that are currently there living and what we have to go through to get from our driveways onto 27th Street East. And I don't know about the gentleman that spoke, and I don't know if anybody in their right mind would think 106 unit is not going to increase the traffic on any street, regardless of where it is. That's just not, it doesn't equate, and it doesn't make sense. I'm sorry. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak?
My name is Dean Jorgensen. I live 1107 Tropical Drive. We're actually in the county. Yeah, I was going to speak, but how do I follow that? I'm sorry, these two ladies, they just said it all. You know, the only thing I will just point out again, which Susie had pointed out, is that really the only thing that's changed since they approved this back in 2020, I believe it was, we actually had the council that approved it unanimously to build the 66 unit duplexes, which we were all agreed. We met with Adam Jacobson on the property and had some discussion with him, and we all agreed. It was a unanimous decision by the board or by the council, and so I think you should stick with that. It's everybody is new here except for Councilwoman Barnaby, and it was a unanimous decision at that time, 5-0.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak? Good morning. If you please state your name, city of residence, and you have
My
3
name
minutes.
is Deborah Stevenson. I live at 1202 27th Street, directly across from where this proposed is being placed. Now, the first thing that caught my attention is when they put their information up on the board, it says, I don't know if anyone was paying attention other than me, it says maximum density is not guaranteed. So everything that they're telling you about what the traffic's going to be and what they're doing means nothing when you approve a proposal that says maximum density is not guaranteed. So that means they could say anything, and then you say, well, we put on there wasn't guaranteed, so when the traffic becomes, even greater than it is now. They say, well, we told you it wasn't guaranteed if you would have read the information that they put out there. So it's just ridiculous. And, you know, like it says, like River Trace is there, you're going to put all these people here, a crowd, and then going to tell us one thing and then, you know, smiling, hoping like nobody's paying attention when you say whatever we're proposing doesn't really mean anything if you approve it, because we told you in the first place it wasn't guaranteed. So our lives being miserable because we can hardly get out of our driveway or whatever, or they could keep speeding down the road and running over my mailbox or whatever. It doesn't matter, because you are trying to give somebody additional income to whatever but I feel we deserve to have a private, you know, as far as we can, neighborhood as best we can on a main thoroughfare without adding to something that's already there when you already have River Trace and other things going on. So I'm just curious, why would someone approve something on a proposal when it tells you in plain sight, you know, maximum density is not guaranteed, so whatever they're telling you about traffic means nothing.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak?
Hi.
Hi, please state your name, and you have 3 minutes.
My name is Christos Gavrilis. I live in that place 23 years. I bought a house the first time. I used to live 648 Harbour Road. It used to be bridge there, the river. They closed the river and they opened the Harbour Street. For the traffic, what they say here, the 27th Street, if you go the time like between 3 to 5 or to 6, with all the traffic coming to go from 27 to go to the 64. You have a stop sign before the 11, after the 11, I'm sorry. After the 11th Avenue, you have stop sign, four stop signs, okay? A lot of accidents happens there with the stop signs. All the time the street for the 64 with the stop signs to the another side where the school, the big school and the place they sell it where they have the oranges, traffic all the way to the top there. And people, they want to go to the 64, they turn to 11th Street, they speed 50 miles to 60 miles an hour because they open the road. We tell to put stop signs there, they don't put stop signs. I call the police 1,000 times to go to give a ticket to the people, and nobody do anything about that. Now they're gonna rebuild all these buildings there, all these people to put it there, all this traffic we have now is gonna be disaster for me, the way I see. In my original house where I live now, I live 1005 Tropical Drive. I have 6 houses in the city. In that area, in the Harbour House, I have 4 houses. In another house where I live now in the Tropical Drive. So I know the area very well. It's too much traffic there. So you decide what you have to do. I tell the truth.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak? Anyone else? Anyone else? Hearing none, we'll close the public hearing. Staff or applicant, is there any? Nothing from staff yet? Okay, thank you.
Good morning once again, City Council. My name is Josh Saul. I'm a planner with Pape Dawson. Thank you for the comments from the constituents, and I'll do my best to kind of hit a couple of those points that they have talked about. So give me just a second here. Actually, it's probably easier if I just go here. So I'll blow this up just to kind of make it easy. So we are looking at a total of increase in units from 66 units to 106. So it's additional 40 units. As you heard from Theo's presentation, that does actually provide a decrease in transportation, or in trips, excuse me. As it relates to public right-of-ways within this area, so we are looking at a 50-foot right-of-way, which is at or above what LUR standards are. We've heard a lot about future land uses and zoning and so on. So if I can jump back here. So here you can see the zoning map. So once again, our outline property there in green, which is PDP. So to the north, we have medium density residential, and to the south, we have high density residential. So we're pretty much surrounded by medium high density residential zoning around this property. If you look at the future land use, everything that you see in yellow, which is basically surrounding our property and to the north, is that red med future land use, which allows for up to 10 units per acre. Like I mentioned earlier in my presentation, River Trace to the south is at 9.95 units per acre, and what we're asking for is 8.6. Like I mentioned, we're allowed to ask up to that 10 units per acre. We're not hitting it. Like I said, we're hitting around 8.69 units. As you heard about, as it relates to speeding, and I'll let Theo probably touch on this a little bit more, but speeding is an enforcement issue. You know, we can't do anything regarding people speeding on publicly maintained roadways. So with that, I'll hand it over to Theo to kind of talk a little bit more about the traffic.
Theo Petrich again with Landis Evans, and kudos to you for knowing how to use AI. That's what I have interns for. I'm more of a dinosaur than you are.
Stand by the microphone.
And she's right. Stand still. My parents always told me that when I'm supposed to be quiet. She's right. There's about 10, used to be 10 units, 10 trips a day per unit. And in the peak hour, you get about 10% of that with a single family unit, which is 60 trips, which is where we were at. So she's right. I looked at the latest version of ITE yesterday. It doesn't change a lot, so I suspect she used an older version because unless she was willing to pay the money for it, but it doesn't change a lot, so that's okay. That's exactly what I would have done. But I just compared the single family dwelling units, 0.93 trips per unit in the peak hour. The attached units, 0.51 trips in the peak hour. I don't make the numbers up. The studies are there. They're shown in a plot. The difference has been studied to death. The attached units have fewer trips than the single-family dwelling units. And if you consider that the single-family dwelling units was a conservative estimate when we did the original study, we probably could have guessed lower. We probably could have said a duplex is going to have less than that, therefore we don't need to go that high. And I've got the numbers. I actually printed them out, but I'm sworn and I'm telling you the numbers right off the paper. That's what it is. The traffic is I stick by the numbers I wrote down. About the speed, that I would never say that's an enforcement issue to a law enforcement officer because I know what they're up against. There's a lot, there's things that might be able to be done, but they would all have to be approved by the city and or the county, which by the way approved the previous study. The county has reviewed all these numbers. There's traffic calming, there's signs and things like that. You can do stop signs. I would recommend against because it speeds everybody up mid-block. But there are things that can be done, but all of that would have to go through your engineering office. It's not something we could even recommend to reduce speeds on that roadway.
Thank you.
That's not my folder. That's mine.
So once again, thank you. With that, I believe we've kind of answered your questions. I do believe, once again, that this development would be a good development for this area, and we request your approval for this petition. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Schindel, Jamie?
Hi, I was just going to pull up before you deliberate, just so you have these criteria up on the screen. Is it? Sorry. Yeah, that was all, just so you have it in front of you. Thank you.
Vice Mayor Coker.
Oh, I didn't, that's old. Sorry.
No, ma'am, we've already closed the public hearing. Obviously, the council is going to have to make a motion at some point. One of the things that just looking at this, I mean, obviously, there's professionals that do it, and the studies are there. It decreases traffic. And one of the things that was said that I know people like to say it, and I don't think they mean it in the way it is, but because we like one developer or not, I don't think any of us up here know this developer. So, I mean, I don't have no idea. So to say those is an easy way to say something against somebody making a decision, but that does sometimes, not do justice to what we do up here in trying to be fair and honest. And then the other thing is infill project. This is a perfect infill project that I believe that you're trying to get things closer and where people can do it. Obviously, traffic is an issue that we all deal with every day, and we know that traffic is going to grow more out of things that we don't control in the county because this is so tied in. One of the things that we've been working with for years is the county, it does, when it's the county road throughout the city and part of this area is all mixed, we don't get to tell the county what to do, but we work with the county. And until the road becomes a failing road, the county said they're not even going to look at it. So, and I know one of the things that I thought was great when I did research on this years ago, because I've been here since 2013, other than a 6-month period from June to January of 2020 and 21, this has been talked about a lot in that area. And the county already owns the right-of-way on the west side of the road, because if you look where the sidewalk is, and Susie knows, Ms. Copeland knows it, they could actually go in and widen that, and they don't have to take any property because they already own it all the way up to the back of the sidewalk. So if you just drive down that road, you see a lot of green space from the sidewalk to the road. So that told me, and that's what I talked with the county people years ago about, is that they are already got ideas in the future road system. So some of those things, and some of the things I've seen, we can work with them. We can't force them to do anything, but we can work with the county and then the DOT at times. So there is opportunity. I've got Councilman Schuessler and then Councilman Moore. Woman Moore, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that obviously as this was coming up, I likewise spent a lot of time looking at traffic and looking at this, and I'm not the traffic expert. Obviously, the world continues to evolve in terms of transportation, and when you look at, it's one of the things that I found, single family versus multifamily dwellings, and the decrease in traffic. While that sounds counterintuitive, in digging over the past week and looking at it, looking at the 3 areas of exiting, looking at traffic in particular, the only thing I wanted to point out is in looking at it, multifamily dwellings do have a tendency to have less cars. Some of it is because of the internet age of Amazon delivering packages and food and not getting in their vehicles. So looking at it, the Amazon truck is one truck. A UPS truck is one truck. If you have 10 families getting Amazon packages, there's not 10 Amazon trucks. There's one. So I found that study very, very interesting in the past week in terms of looking at where we are and how it's evolving.
Thank you. Councilwoman Moore?
I don't disagree with Mayor's comments, and I appreciate Mr. Schuessler's due diligence. And I don't conceptually have a problem with putting infill housing in this area. I defer to Councilwoman Coachman's thoughts on that specific question, but just generally speaking, we need housing. This is, seemingly a good place to put it. And I also don't, by generally speaking, have a problem with increasing density in these type of projects. However, when we look at, I think, the practicality of this particular situation, I think that what is a perceived lack of attention to ingress and egress for this particular project, I think is troubling me and speaks to the quality of design. If I understand correctly, we're putting ingress and egress on 27th Street directly across the street from active driveways in an area that we already know is congested. And if I've anecdotally done some research on how FDOT comes up with how they do their things, and I think to our gentleman's point that FDOT is looking at putting people on their arteries and then really trying to move them. I don't think that that speaks to the question of ingress and egress. And I also think that one of the problems, I would say, just generally speaking again, as to FDOT's primary focus on moving people and trip counts, is that it doesn't look at transportation from a consumer standpoint. It doesn't treat it like a consumer commodity. So just like any consumer, if you don't like something, you're going to find an alternative. And if the 27th ingress and egress point is so choked all the time, and the River Trace Circle one, I would imagine, is not much better because it's still dumping you out on 27th Street, the natural propensity, I think, of the residents of this community is going to be to exit 11th Avenue and then go up Oak Street to get to Hubble, to 6th Avenue Drive East, ultimately to get to Manatee Avenue East, where there's a signal, so that they can probably more quickly exit the community and get onto Manatee Avenue without having to worry about the light at 27th. My main point of concern is the intersection of 6th Avenue Drive East and Hubble Drive East. Anyone familiar with that particular corner can tell you that it is, in my opinion, at this moment in time, struggling with capacity. It's a really sharp corner, and you have to be very careful, and you have to be going very slowly. And I'm concerned, and again, I think it speaks to quality of design, that we're ignoring the natural human propensity to say, I'm not going to go 27th because it's going to be impossible to get in and out. I'm going to go Oak Street, 11th to Hubble, and then potentially have problems at that really sharp corner. My questions towards Mr. Rudisill earlier were, because I think that I want to encourage, smart infill redevelopment, I would like to see us work with the applicant to come up with a different solution. I know the county, I know that 27th is within the purview of the county. I couldn't honestly tell you how to improve that situation, and that we need the county. But I guess in my mind, I'm kind of likening it to the Chick-fil-A on the west side, and how we worked with them to have that left turn so that traffic flowed better right there. And I'm wondering if there's something that we could do to make this better, because I am struggling with what I'm putting in the quality of design bucket as it relates to ingress and egress.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Coker.
Oh, yes. I'm sorry, I was thinking about what she said. Now I'm forgetting what my question was.
Go to Councilman Barnaby first.
Yeah, go to Ms. Barnaby.
Councilwoman Barnaby.
Well, okay.
Oh, I just remembered.
Please go ahead.
Okay, I will. I just want to make sure I'm understanding what the ordinance, we're not really approving the increased density. All we're doing is approving the slightly smaller setback. Is that basically?
I don't think.
They have the right to go up to a higher density, but we have to give it permission for the.
No, that is the request that's before you, is the additional density with this plan and the different unit types that they're proposing.
So by rights now, what's the density that's allowed?
By right, it would be what's under the current plan. I don't know the answer. That would be planning.
Yeah, she'll talk about too that, they're still under the 10 units per acre or whatever that is.
Yeah, that's
Correct.
kind of where, but maybe
Yeah, it's
I'm
not an increase in
misunderstanding.
density in terms of they're not doing a comp plan amendment, so they're not increasing density in that sense. They're still within the density as allowed in the comprehensive plan. But what's been approved under this PDP, more restrictive because they went from, and originally I think they were proposing single family, then they went to duplex, which is a 33 or a total of 66 units, 33 buildings. And now it's a difference in the type of unit that they're building. So instead of duplexes, that would be fee simple ownership, which is why they had to come through the PDP process in the first place. Now they're going to townhouse, 4 to 6 units per building. So that's why they need a PDP for that product type.
Okay.
But they're still within the density that's allowed in the comprehensive plan.
Thank you.
Councilwoman Barnaby?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First of all, I want to thank everybody for coming out today. It's really nice when we get to see friendly faces from the community come and participate in the government that they pay for, and I really appreciate it. And just as an aside, being a woman of a certain age that has children of a certain age, I think this is the first time I've ever heard Netflix and chill in a government meeting. And you may want to Google that, because it has less to do with watching movies and more to do with possible population growth.
No discussion.
Just sharing.
Explanation. No.
So when we look at what we have in our pretty much land use Bible here with PDP standards, to get to maximum density or get even close to maximum density, it's not guaranteed, as it says right here in front of us. And we're supposed to look at the quality of design, we're supposed to look at the contribution to public facilities, open space, recreation, preservation of resources, possibly sensitive lands. And we look at all of that, as well as a little bit further in our staff report. It talks about PDP is put in to encourage and promote designing to a higher quality, bringing in innovative projects, preservation of sensitive lands and creation of green space, and innovative designs is one of the things that's really important. And when I look at, in our staff report, the information that the applicant sent us, when I look at this plot of land, forgive me, but I don't see any innovation. I don't see a design that's a higher standard. And what I see when I look at it is 10 pounds of potatoes in a 5-pound sack. So I can't support this. I just, again, PDPs are supposed to bring us innovative projects with quality, in my mind, higher design standards. I think that's what was behind putting it into our land use Bible when we started doing this. And I just can't support this.
All right, any other questions, or the chair will entertain a motion?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, ma'am.
I will make a motion to deny the request, based on everything that I've just previously said.
We have a motion by Ms. Barnaby to deny. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Ms. Coachman?
We've
Moore?
been
Okay.
singing together.
We'll give it to Ms. Moore. All right, any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll start the vote in Ward 4,
Yes.
5,
Yes.
1,
Yes.
2,
Yes.
3.
Yes.
Carries 5-0. Thank you very much. Moving on, Madam Clerk.
Mr. Mayor, before we move on, we'll prepare the draft denial order, and that'll be on the next council agenda for consideration.
Okay, thank you.
Item 7B is the public hearing for Resolution 2640 related to a major amendment to the Bella Sol Plan Development Plan.
Welcome.
Thank you. Brandon Wink, one of the city staff here. So today, council, we have something that will look familiar. We have a major amendment to the Bella Sol PDP to exclude a property from the stipulation requiring fire suppression. This time it's for the property at 4303 Fifth Avenue Northeast. So this property, it is in the R1 designation. Its future land use is residential low. Flood zone is AE to X. All the same relative stats as the previous property that we saw back in January. This one is slightly bigger at 0.2383 acres, and it's the same type of request to amend the PDP to exclude this one from fire suppression stipulations. The location map on this property here, it is located roughly right in the middle of Bella Sol. And as you can see, even the property that was previously approved all the way to the left of this map. So this is the plot where the house is proposed to be built, and they are seeking to not have to do the fire suppression through the stipulation that was done back in 2012, I believe. 2008, yeah. The zoning map, same as last time, it's residential low all the way through. So they are looking to amend the PDP. The fire suppression stipulation was added to the Bella Sol community in 2008 as part of a PDP amendment approved by City Council August 13, 2008. At the time, the PDP was amended to allow development to change from 18 units to 37. After presentations and talking to the fire marshal about the difficulties fire rescue had with the gate, the stipulation to require fire suppression was added to the approval. And in 2012, City Council approved a PDP amendment removing the need for window sprinklers and some landscaping between houses, but it upheld that fire suppression was necessary due to the distance between the houses. We have today the applicant who has some prepared presentation of his own.
All right. Chief, do we have any comments on that from the fire department? Why we remember the one we did a while back.
That was.
And why is this one different, or why is it the same?
So I've had extensive discussions with fire marshal about this request. So there was one property in there that was overlooked, and they were allowed to build without a system. The most recent one that you're referring to was outside the gate that we had discussed before. Talking with the fire marshal currently with the upcoming fire code changes that happens about every 3 years in life safety code, is that really I think there's only probably 2 properties left in the subdivision. And
so with this one, there should only be one further, the one at the far corner end, which is part of the cul-de-sac.
Yeah, one more left, and I mean I guess we're willing to do away with that stipulation based on the fact that in today's fire code that it doesn't apply. We've checked the gate. We have access through the gate. It still poses an issue, but I think we can overcome that. Partly due to the extreme cost of a fire suppression system in a single-family residential, it really could make the project cost prohibitive to these new homeowners. And as you know, we don't want to enforce a code or a rule that was in place, 15, 20 years ago. So based on the current building code, fire codes, is that it would not be required. So, in this particular case, and probably just to go ahead and get it off the table for the next lot in there, is that we would remove that stipulation, recommend to remove that one stipulation for the fire suppression system. Still adhere to the other requests, but follow building code, and I think planning, I haven't talked to you extensively, but that was going to be our recommendation today and for the remaining 2 lots. I know it's not, you know, if I was a resident in there and I had to do that years ago and go through all this time and it still be required, that can cause some heartache. But we also have to look at the current code, and that is also going to be changed again next year. And really, the recommendations that are coming forward are going to really remove the fire department from single-family residential even more. And, you know, that's where we don't want to get into a legal battle. Right. We don't want to get into the city in trouble in any kind of way. And, you know, so we've kind of looked at both sides on this overall picture. And I just don't know that we want to enforce this right now.
So you know what my question is going to be, or at least the fire marshal would know what my question is going to be. So if the rest of the residents get together and say, can we turn off our fire suppression systems that are there, can we? Because it's not about, they've already paid the expense of putting in the suppression system, but it's the yearly cost. And at this point, now they start to cost money to replace the system and do that. So
that's exactly it. And we talked about that too. And you're very familiar with this, is that, you know, because we have no jurisdiction in single family residential, we can't go back in and say, hey, we're coming to check your system. It better be operating properly. So, you know, that's a big, you know, if they own the system, they want to keep it active. You know, I think that it's if it was me, I would keep it active. I think it's a great idea with insurance and just for the safety aspect. But also based on current fire codes and changes upcoming, I would not want to put us in a bind and put this on the homeowner.
All right, thank you, Chief. Councilwoman Barnaby?
Yeah. Could you please pull up the map again?
Absolutely.
Yes, that one. And I don't know if this is for the fire chief, but I also might need some legal interpretation, Mr. Rudisil. I understand fire codes and things change. However, you have a very unique piece of property here. This is smack dab in the middle. And my question is this: if we don't require a suppression system there, and God forbid it catches on fire and spreads into the other areas, are we liable? Meaning we went back on what we required other people to do, and I know anybody can sue anybody for anything these days. That's very obvious, but I'm sorry. I know there's a question in there somewhere, so give me an answer that you feel comfortable with.
So one thing that I did say is the fire suppression only. I know the request is in there, but there were some other things in the stipulations that required concrete construction, a few of the other things like that I would recommend leaving in. But that's, you know, based on, you know, the house next door catches on fire, things of that nature. So.
Councilwoman Moore? Were you done?
I didn't hear anything from Mr. Ruda, so maybe he doesn't want to weigh in, but.
Well, I mean, the first part of my answer was going to be what you said, we can always be sued. But I think what you heard from the fire chief and the fire marshal is that this is not a requirement of the fire code currently to sprinkler these properties. And we enforce the codes that we have on the books. So I don't see any additional liability by virtue of the fact that we're not applying some enhanced standard above and beyond the fire code here.
And Councilwoman Barnaby, if you look at most of these homeowners, I would guess are going to do a cost analysis of what it costs to replace a system at about the time they're at now, and what you save in insurance is going to be, your cost is going to be way above what you're saving. Now, if you're looking at it from the heartstrings, you definitely want to keep it. But it comes down to a financial means at the time, and those two houses on either side of that could actually turn their sprinklers off. They could go dark with them because they don't want to continue to pay maintenance and pay monitoring fees in that. And that's something that we know sometimes government needs to stay in the government lane, and other times they don't. So, Mr. Perry.
I did, from what I understand, the fire marshal spoke with the HOA, and they did recently have all the homeowners go in and service their systems, which is great. But, you know, like you said, we don't have the authority to go in there and do any kind of follow-up inspection. Once that CO is given on that single family, it's theirs.
So we don't even know if there's some that have already turned them off. Mr. Perry.
Chief, I don't want to tell you I'm disappointed, but I would have liked, I've talked with planning about this fairly extensively in my preparations to talk with council. And this information doesn't seem to me to be relayed to our planning department that has to deal with it at any level. That codes had changed, that you feel now, in accordance with National Fire Protection Association's comments to the building code, that it's unnecessary. As pointed out by Councilor Barnaby, smack in the middle of all of them. These are the tightest residential structures I've probably seen in the city of Bradenton since I've been here 5 years. The 5-foot setbacks. So my neighbor's fire could become my fire. I imagine because of consideration about combustibility and other issues that there could have been some changes to the building code. But when you look at that as it was originally proposed and where it is now, nothing's really changed. The lots are still long and narrow with 5-foot setbacks.
Well, in the city, you know, back then, the city agreed to adjust the setbacks before that became the norm. You know, and that was another reason behind it. You know, so now you go to some of these neighborhoods, you know, and you look at the lot lines now, and that's the new norm. You know, now if you're asking me what I think is the fire chief to keep it consistent in there the way it's laid out, I would prefer we leave the stipulation in. But you know, my part, you know, and we haven't, you know, we didn't get with planning on this or Scott, you know, is the legal side of things, you know, to where, you know, are we putting that unnecessary burden on the homeowner? And you know, not to beat it up here, but you know, it's one of those things that it's one of those things we don't have jurisdiction, you know, after it's built. And you know, I wish we did, but you know, in this case, we don't. And so
I appreciate it. I mean,
yeah.
And you know, your opinion, you know, I talk extensively. It's incredibly valued by myself.
We still have a hard time getting in the gate. We're having to go in the exit. Don't like that. We've spoken about that, you know, extensively. That hasn't changed. The layout hasn't changed. It's still a choking point, which is hard to, you know, you can get people in and then everybody else is on foot. So you're talking time delays no matter what. So all those things still exist, okay? And, you know, so from my perspective, I would love to see everyone stay sprinkled in there, but the facts are that we can't go in there and mandate anything after that CO is given. It's single family.
No, I get it. I get it after a CO.
But as far as y'all go, we can still.
Right now you can, and right now it's a policy decision, Chief.
That's right, it's policy decision.
Not mine, but 5 members and potentially a 6th.
Right, yes, sir.
Not a fire chief, not a building department, not a city administrator.
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir, correct.
Councilwoman Moore.
Oh, that's, yeah.
I appreciate the consideration of the cost to the homeowner. I really do. My concern, though, is that we permitted this level of proximity based on a notion that we were going to be expecting this extra level of protection. I'm certainly not reassured to hear that we potentially are going to not require sprinkling, and we're having trouble accessing this area. That's like definitely a problem, I think, and a concern. And also, I mean, I would have liked to have heard a little bit more maybe from the HOA or just the community generally
It's
speaking.
a public hearing, so we may hear some.
Oh, and yes, of course. And I say that because while, to some extent, I feel like while I have complete empathy for how much construction costs these days, when you buy a piece of property that maybe is requiring this kind of thing, to some extent, you know what you're getting yourself into, and that this was a requirement when you purchased. And the flip side of that coin is your neighbors have an expectation that you're going to be required to do this when they bought their parcel as well. So I guess for now, my comment is just that I am now a little more concerned based on the accessibility of the fire trucks, but also I would like to hear, I guess, if there are more residents that are going to speak to that, because those are the nature of my concerns.
I think one of the things that Chief said that made me think, and last night after dinner with my granddaughter and wife, obviously, we drove through a new subdivision that's being built over on 75th Street and Cortez Road called Seaflower.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it would be hard for me to walk between those homes and not hit my elbows. So when you said that it changed, and of course Seaflower isn't in the city, but that's the new style. And so, again, I agree with you from the standpoint of why do you want to put it right in the middle, but also it becomes almost, for people that have sprinkler systems, that when they get to a certain age, that you have to start replacing tens of thousands of dollars worth of stuff, that, I don't think, if it's not a law or it's not required, I can't see them keeping those sprinkler systems active, and we have no teeth to go in and make them. Now, their HOA might, but they're going to vote on that. So I agree, and when I looked at this, I'm like, well, why is it even coming up? It's right in the middle. But I don't disagree that, sometimes in my partner to the right or colleague to the right, government overreach is a big thing. And
Yeah, I noticed you thought he was going to take a crack at my
she's
age.
looking,
Is that what
but when I say that, I say it tongue in cheek because sometimes, and I don't know the whole thing back when they did it years ago. I know it was this tightness, but that's the standard or the norm now.
Right,
When you
yes,
build
sir.
in subdivisions that tight. And again, you have one problem, you wish you had them. But you pay tens of thousands of dollars more than what you didn't need, maybe. That's why we have insurance. That's why we have it. But I do agree with Councilwoman Moore about, and I see one of our engineers retired out in the audience. If you can't get through that gate and that house is on fire, I'm sure that truck's running through the gate.
We'll get through, and that's
Yeah,
one thing we
quickly.
always, talk about. But, don't forget, the other stipulations that are in there, is a concrete block, which, we don't want to put a wood frame. I understand it's going to be concrete block. Yeah, so there's things like that, and years ago, we stepped back on the sprinkler requirement for the windows, and that's a big deal, by itself. So it's one of those things where, I know it's an interesting kind of place that I find is in where I don't want to do hardship on anyone or create, a problem for us as well. So,
Vice Mayor
I see
Coker.
both sides.
Yeah, Vice Mayor Coker and Council.
Chief Gear, first off, when, was it the fire marshal that made the determination we're no longer going to require fire suppression on residential?
No, that comes from the state.
That comes from the state?
Yeah, and like Mr.
And so
Perry
they
said,
just,
NFPA, yeah.
are they considering, so that, when they made that decision, did they say, was it just, I don't want to deal with the residential anymore? Or were they looking at, because I think, made some very big changes of what your typical residential is because of that.
So going back to when this happened, that was like Mr. Perry said, a decision from the council based on the agreement with the builder at the time to reduce those lot lines and to basically put more squeeze more properties into that subdivision. And so what's happened over the years, there was some give and take there. The other thing is I well remember are the access issues, and our ladder trucks couldn't get in, and so forth. And since then, they've done redone the exit side and made it wider so we can go in through the outdoor basically. And truck technology, turning radiuses help, things like that as well. There were some key points in there, regarding like advancement and technology for us. Building construction is also a factor. That's why I wouldn't remove that stipulation. Some of the others requiring the landscaping and other access issues in between. But, and that's why I say only the fire suppression system.
All right, Councilwoman Coachman.
This is one of those instances, as being a policymaker, you kind of want to say, because throughout the years, because of, the public saying, hey, government, you got your hands on me and my personal property, get out. So to avoid that, we've just loosened up on regulations, but I've found myself in a lot of instances voting on something that we have either no choice, we have to approve it, whether it's a good idea or not. It's just sad that sitting in this seat right now, just because you should or shouldn't, doesn't mean it's right to do that. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, just because now you're not regulated to have it, then you don't have to. But in all honesty, from a different standpoint, how fair is this to the two homes that'll be, flanking them? But anyway, this is tough, but we have to stick to the government guidelines.
Yeah, and again, I never thought that I'd hear the fire department saying, don't do something, obviously. And then also, but I'm a big believer in HOAs, the docs that are written and whatever it was, that it should stand, but normally an HOA doesn't come up to us up here to then make a decision, because that was done through the original documents with the HOA, with the developer, that then was turned over to the homeowners.
Right.
But, yeah, so it's kind of weird. Why don't we go to is there an applicant here that needs to talk first, and then we'll go to the public hearing? Thank you.
I had some handouts, but you guys put this here.
Here, and we can see it, yes.
I mean, you've pretty much, I'm sorry.
So state your name and who you are.
My name's Scott DeCanio. Nice to meet you all.
Yeah. And you're with?
Say again?
So who are you with? Or
it's just me. I'm the homeowner.
Oh, you're the property owner?
Yes, I'm the property owner,
all right.
Building a house. You guys have hit pretty much every major point that I was going to talk about. We've had changes in the buildings. When this was, when this was applied in 2008, buildings were 8 feet apart. Now standard is 5, which is where we are. Now our properties are long, so it makes it seem like there's this closeness to it that normally wouldn't be as absurd looking from the space. But even the property that I'm living in now, while I'm renting doing this, they're 5 feet apart. It's the norm. Put this down or up?
Just up. Yep.
If you look at, we talked, if I got this right, turn it the other way.
Yeah, there we go. Thank you.
Sorry. Some of the things that have changed as over time is
Can you get by the microphone?
Construction has changed. Access for the fire department, they have remote controls to go through our exit gate. And if you look here, this was the problem that we had, this little choke point right here where it went around. Well, the exit gate has been adjusted, and if you look at it, it's right here. And when the fire department comes down, or any of the emergency vehicles or moving vehicles, and constantly come in, they come in and they just make a straight run at it right there, and they go right through. So that there's really no choke point there any longer. There are 2 houses in there that were built without, and the last one that had come before you guys and gotten a variance. because they were up at the gate. The closest fire hydrant, unfortunately, is 3 or 4 houses inside the gate. So still need access to get inside the gate to deal with any particular fire that would have been with that house. If you look here, I've got little red dots next to where the fire hydrant, the closest fire hydrant is. And you see this blue line, and this is where the house that was varianced is being built. So no matter what, the fire department has to come through the gate to service any form of fire. And if you look at the second dot, which is up here, it's 2 down from my home. So my house, the house that I'm building, which, by the way, having been down here for 5 years, the construction has changed. I'm all concrete. 4 hurricanes since I've been down here. I've gone from what was my initial build was concrete and then frame up, is now frame straight up, concrete straight up to the steel roof that I'm putting on it. I'm not dealing with any hurricanes. It's all hurricane glass, which in 2008 was not really something that was put into building products. It is as highly built, and it's built to such a high standard because of those things. I don't see how it makes any difference. Again, you guys have hit every single point without me having to do my presentation. I don't know if you have any questions for me. I just, I can go through the presentation, but it's simple. It's, it's access and it's and it's distance. There's not much more to say. And you wanted to talk to the HOA. I have the president of the HOA here and the vice president of the HOA here, and they're happy to speak to this.
If when we get in public hearing, if they want to come up, they
Yes,
can.
yes.
All right. Thank you. Appreciate it. At this time, we'll open the public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak? Anyone wishing to speak, please come forward. Please state your name and your city of residence.
Morning, I'm Bill McGowan. I'm a lifelong resident of Bradenton. I'm the president of the HOA. Bella Sewell lived there about 7.5 years. My son is a city firefighter. He's worked at Station 1, 2, and 3. He's driven all Station 2 trucks into our entrance gate, and he says, no problem getting them in. So he's now at Station 3. His name's Joe Baker. You might know him. So as far as the HOA goes, it doesn't matter to us. Both houses on either side are sprinklered, mine's sprinklered. I look at it as like a time bomb in the attic. It's eventually going to need to be serviced, and we've serviced the bells and the gauges on it. So we just did that the last fall. So, but what's now code is, as you see with Seaflower, is they're actually 5 feet setbacks, but they're actually 10. And between my house and the neighbor's house is actually 20, because their house is a little smaller. So you think 5, but it's actually a minimum of 10, and it is really greater than that. The homeowners look at it as an extra expense. Scott didn't talk about the expense, but it's not 10,000. It's multiples of 10,000 to put the sprinkler system in, as you can imagine. Yeah, it's almost 50. So it is. He knew about it when he bought the lot, but it's just, we feel as homeowners it's just not necessary. We appreciate your time.
All right, thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak?
Hey, good morning, everyone. My name is Mark Owens. Been a resident here in Bradenton, Florida for 10 years. Also immediate past president of the Bella Soleil HOA and current vice president. Been in the community for 10 years now. Love the community, love the city. The bill referenced the fire suppression, and some of the homeowners have recently had theirs assessed. I was one of them. Of the 35 houses that are there now, I believe only 6 homeowners have actually done this. Bill also mentioned time bomb. Terrifies me what I have in my attic right now. Terrifies me. Sir, you mentioned about as far as your requirements and everything, as far as holding us to the standard. At some point, I look at that gauge and that highly pressurized system, and again, it terrifies me. I'm so tempted every day just to turn it off so I don't have something happening up there. The construction of these homes are just unmatched, so I'm not as concerned from a fire perspective there. And the response time with you guys is unmatched as well. So Bill also referenced there's no requirement from the HOA. We have no problems with that. Precedent seems to have been set with a couple of homes, 3, that do not have those systems in there for whatever reason, how that was either overlooked or just not enforced at the time. So I look at it in that capacity, the undue cost to the degree of that. I'm looking to our neighbors also that may have to incur certain significant costs in the future if something terrible does happen with those systems, not related to a fire, just from a highly pressurized system throughout that entire home could go haywire anytime. I had a HVAC team in my house yesterday, and they looked up and saw the heads, and they were nervous about hitting them. I get it. They are, actually, I said, they're recessed. Some of them are not in the community. So, placing that burden on the homeowner, I think, is not, something we should do going forward. We have one more lot, as you mentioned, and hopefully that homeowner won't have to go through this as well. But I'd ask the council here to approve Mr. DeCanio's request. Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak? Anyone else wishing to speak? Let me close the public hearing. You're the homeowner. Hearing no more public, we'll close the public hearing. If the homeowner wants to come up, or the property owner wants to come up for a rebuttal,
My understanding.
wait till you get to the microphone.
My understanding, talking to the building and zoning, is our 37 homes are unique in all of Bradenton City. I think it may be the only, if maybe one other, that has this kind of a requirement, this sort of antiquated requirement. So yes, would it be great to have fire sprinklers in every single house? Would it be safer? Yes, it'd be safer to drive 30 miles an hour instead of 60 miles an hour. There's a reasonability factor there that I keep looking at and I can't get past. So thank you so much. I really appreciate all your time.
Any staff?
I apologize.
Chief, anything before Chair entertains a motion?
I don't think so. I wish I had a better recommendation, but
So your recommendation is approval.
I think so at this point.
So Chair will entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, but before you take a motion, I just want to make sure everyone understands what's on before the council today is just the elimination of the stipulation for that one property. So if they wanted to look at eliminating it for the entire community, they would have to come back with a different application.
And that's the only stipulation that we would negate, because as I'm understanding, as evidence is presented, there are other stipulations dealing with construction materials, et cetera, et cetera. So the only one that we're looking at is not requiring the
Brandon Wayne
suppression
City
system.
staff, I pulled up the original approved in August 13 of 08 regular session. There were seven stipulations that were brought in at that time and approved. And this one is only pertaining to number 5 with, as it pertains to the fire suppression. Within that one stipulation, it does not say anything else regarding construction, setbacks, anything. It was entirely self-contained.
Maybe the chief can point us out to his reliance on construction material.
So does it address the concrete block?
I will read it out.
Yeah, if you don't mind reading it, yeah.
So the individual residences are to include sprinkler systems in accordance with city requirements. As such, applicant agrees to include provision within homeowner association documents for Bella Sol, stating that in the event of individual owner fails to pay their water or utility bill, the city may bill the homeowner association to ensure that such water service will continue without interruption to assure continuous fire protection. However, the homeowner association shall not be responsible for taking any measures whenever to assure payment of water utility bills by an individual owner, and shall only be responsible for the payments billed to the homeowner association by the city of the above events occur. Such billing by the city shall only occur after the city has taken reasonable steps to require that the individual owner pays the water utility bill directly to the city.
Doesn't have anything to do with what we're talking about.
Yeah, I thought we were talking about building standards.
Yeah. Are there other key points aside from the fire suppression system?
No, that's what we're here for, is fire suppression.
Okay.
No, I think the question is whether there are other stipulations related to.
It had to do with like landscaping, had to do with like I don't have it right in front of me, but there were some other requirements.
I mean, to go back to the original question, the answer is yes. The only stipulation that has been requested to be modified is the stipulation related to the fire suppression system. Whether there are other stipulations applicable to the project, I don't know that.
Well, one thing though too, and I'll get to Ms. Barnaby, is though when it talks about the city code, but you were saying, what was the city code then? And it doesn't sound like it really said that if there's no city code for fire sprinklers in homes now, what are we really doing?
So it was back then it was like Mr. Perry said, a policy decision based on the recommendation from the fire marshal at the time. And it had to do with access issues and then the reduced lot lines taken from, I think it was 14, squeezing into 37 lots, if I remember my numbers right.
18 to 37.
1837. So, there was all that wasn't normal building code at the time or fire code. And so that's why the recommendation for the fire sprinkler at that time was recommended.
What you're saying, if they were going to build this exact subdivision today, we wouldn't have that requirement?
No, sir.
Ms. Barnaby?
Well, again,
Now I'm sorry, go ahead.
no, I was saying, we've received testimony today that, and I absolutely believe the property owner saying this, that there will be certain construction materials used that should be less flammable. And so that was my question, was we're only addressing the fire suppression system with this. However, to receive my vote to be in favor of this, I'm like Ronald Reagan, trust but verify.
I think Ms. Singer has some more for us.
Just if you look at page 11 of 14 of the staff report, that has the original stipulations. So it lists them all there.
Construction is not listed as one of them. The stipulation requiring setback is stipulation 1, which is the combined side yard setback of adjacent lots shall be no less than 16 feet in the front, excluding the portico, and shall be no less than 12 feet in the rear.
Is there any, Mayor, if I may, is there anything as it relates to the zoning designation in a high-velocity X zone or otherwise that would make a certain type of construction material be required?
Not really, no.
I didn't think it was
In terms of flood zone, it has more to do with elevation and.
So it doesn't have to be
like-
concrete block?
No, not necessarily. I mean, if you, below the flood zone, you have to have actually frangible
So,
walls.
so I'm going to extend that the premise that this wasn't as dangerous from a fire protection perspective was predicated on a change to the code as well as a higher level of construction material being less combustible. And we've just found out that there is no way to ensure that a less combustible material such as masonry concrete block, CMU, which is typically used, is required in this. So can we just all kind of understand that's where the ball is on the field? Would you agree with that, Chief?
I'll agree with that.
Okay.
Mrs. Moore?
What do we, is it safe to compare this to other, maybe either multifamily type of development or, what do we do now when we have like townhomes or something like that, when you have close proximity? Because I think all of us want to let property owners do whatever they want to do. However, when you're talking public safety, I'm good with everyone doing whatever they'd like to do as long as it doesn't affect other people or jeopardize other people or their property. So I'm just trying to figure out that standard. To some extent, that's how we had Surfside, because we let people do what they wanted to do. And I'm trying to avoid some kind of disaster.
So if a new townhome or residential neighborhood or something was being proposed, that would go through site improvement permit. It would get looked at by fire. We would defer to what fire would say in those instances. They're the experts.
you immediately cross away from single family to multifamily.
And it's different.
It's different, yeah. Then we go in and do our thing. We inspect, we enforce the fire codes, et cetera.
Do we require a suppression system?
Yes.
Maybe we should ask the owner what his intention is as it relates to construction material.
He's mentioned it.
He did.
He's already stipulated?
Yes, he did stipulate that.
area to steel roof.
Yep.
Okay. And we're good. If
Good,
you
yeah.
include that as a stipulation.
Yeah.
Right, that's why I was assuming that they did. Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I didn't mean to address you directly. Yep.
So, Madam Vice Mayor,
Yes.
Mr. Rudisil, so if we wanted to approve this stipulation and then add the stipulation that there would be specific building materials required, such as concrete block and a steel roof, which the applicant has already agreed that that's what he wants to do, would that be acceptable? Could we do it that way?
Yes.
Okay, okay.
Would you like to have a motion?
Sure. Since this keeps being pointed out that I was the one sitting here back in the day, I would like to move approval of this request regarding the non-requirement of sprinkling apparatus with the stipulation that concrete material, a steel roof, and other less combustible items as applicable be considered.
Also, I would say there's another lot that hasn't been developed, and would this apply to both lots?
No.
Just for this one.
Just for this
It
one?
was only advertised for this one.
Okay, all right.
And I'm not, I'm
That's
not
right.
playing attorney, but
And I think the more specific you can be to say less combustible.
May I make a
kinda-
friendly amendment suggestion?
sure.
Can you speak to, in order to narrow down and get some specificity, can we link our stipulation about building materials to multifamily?
No, why? This is a single family. You're,
No, I know that this is single family, but if we're trying to get to.
No, we gotta just
This
talk
is
about
only
this one.
regarding one.
No, I understand that. I'm saying, do we want them to adhere to the standard of fire safety up to having to have a suppression system that a multifamily would have? Do they have any?
That's a heightened degree.
Yeah,
That's what I'm
that's a
saying.
requirement.
I mean, we're trying to make their building materials heightened. We're trying to make them have more.
We're doing it individually on this piece of property
I
pursuant to the
understand that.
building plans.
I'm trying
Yeah.
to link it to something that makes sense. If we were building
I
townhomes
don't
that were
accept the
attached.
amendment.
Okay, but I would like
So-
to clarify what I meant.
So one thing that the fire marshal talked with the owner about was that the fact that it was going to be concrete block construction, okay, which is low, meets more of a fire separation standard, in between homes. If he was just going to do a wood frame, we'd have a huge problem with that. Okay, so it's going to be concrete block construction. If he's okay with a stipulation on that, we'd be ecstatic.
Yeah, but again, if all we're doing is saying you don't have to have a sprinkler system, then how are we saying if he wants to build a wood frame, we'd stop it? That's what this,
It's a stipulation.
that's what she said.
Yeah.
I heard it.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is, so it's not, we're putting the stipulation on by removing the fire suppression that's there right now.
And my question would also be, you're saying steel roof?
That's what he said in evidence.
It's metal.
I'm sorry,
Yeah.
okay.
I just wanted to.
All right. There's no dialogue from the audience, please. I know we're asking, but we just got to keep that
Sorry.
down.
It's okay, it's all right. I am not a contractor.
And I'm not either. I was trying to get to specificity of the type of materials that would be the most fire safe, short of requiring a fire suppression system, is where I was going with that.
Well, and that's exactly what we were looking for, and the fire marshal as well was talking with the homeowner about, just because of the close proximity, being concrete construction, that would go a long way by itself.
Okay, so, Mr. Rudisil, the amendment states that the stipulation is not to require the suppression system based on the property having concrete construction and a metal roof?
Yes.
Am I okay with that?
Yes. And
Then-
as a policy matter, I think this reconciles. I think it's a great motion because it reconciles some give and take. It's economical for the builder to do it better than to put the $50,000 suppression system in, but it addresses what the original policy concerns, which is fire protection that was initially agreed to for these types of things.
So we have a motion.
It was a little messy getting there, but I like it.
A second by Ms. Coker. We've had exhausting discussion, which was good. So we'll start the vote to approve in Ward 5 with the motion by Ms. Barnaby.
Yes.
1,
Yes.
2,
Yes.
3,
Yes.
4.
Yes.
Carries 5-0. Thank you. Madam Clerk?
Item 7C is the first public hearing for PLN-DVA-26-001 local local development agreement. And this is for approval of a development agreement between the City of Bradenton and Amris Investments pursuant to Section 163.3227 Florida statutes.
Hello, Jamie.
Hello, one moment, sorry.
No problem.
Hello, good morning, council.
Still morning, yes.
Okay, well, to start off, I do need to pass out a slight amendment to the development agreement. This is the first public hearing. There will be a second one. I only printed out the changes. They are very minor. They're mostly just clarification. I didn't print out a whole new development agreement for everyone because, again, this is just the first reading.
Can you give them?
Yeah, I can do that. Okay. So yes, good morning. My name is Jamie Schindewolf. I am here to present the staff report for this land development agreement, and I have been sworn. So as stated, this is a land development agreement, and this is in relation to I don't know how to get rid of that, a comprehensive plan amendment. So the proposed project is a mixed-use building with a total of 345 multifamily units on 3.7 acres. This comes to approximately 94 dwelling units per acre. The land is currently vacant, and they are, this is not the request for the future land use amendment, but this is coming before you because they are seeking a future land use district amendment from urban central business district to urban core. Here is the location of the project. You all, I'm sure, know it well. It's also known as the Old City Hall site at the corner of Manatee Avenue West and 15th Street West along Wares Creek. So why is a land development agreement needed in this case? It's needed because it is a requirement due to their request to increase the allowable density in the coastal high hazard area because they're seeking that comprehensive plan amendment that would increase their allowable density. And then it's also required to increase the number of allowed dwelling units above the base of 60 units per acre in the urban core. So looking at the two districts, they currently have a future land use designation of urban central business district that allows a maximum base density of 40 dwelling units per acre. The request that they will be coming before you with shortly is to increase to urban core, which has a maximum base density of 60 dwelling units per acre. In addition to that, they are able to come before City Council and request an increase of up to 200 units per acre if they meet the criteria that's listed here. And I will go into more detail in a moment on that. So if they were to seek that full 200 units per acre, which they are not asking for, they would be able to hit a total of 789 units. They are requesting 345 units, which is approximately 94 dwelling units per acre. So it's greater than that maximum base density of 60, but it is less than the total ask that they could be coming before you of 200 units per acre. So the criteria to allow for that increase above the base density of 60 dwelling units per acre are as follows. The first is providing for multi-use solutions for transportation, emphasis on pedestrian access, alternative transportation, walkability. The applicant asserts that there are existing sidewalks. This is located near the bus transfer station, and they are proposing bicycle facilities such as storage and parking. The development should be arranged in block dimensions that maintain a pedestrian scale, and the applicant will be maintaining the existing lot and block dimensions of downtown. They are including a public park in their proposal, and you will see that on their site plan that I will show. And the architecture is meant to recognize existing context of the area. The proposed development is 7 stories, which the applicant asserts is appropriate with the existing building massing in that area. The composition and materials that they intend will blend with existing buildings in the vicinity. Additionally, the form-based code contains architectural requirements, so those are highly based on what is existing in our downtown area. This is the conceptual plan that's included with the land development agreement. You can see that along Wares Creek, they are proposing a public park there. The ground floor along the 15th Avenue West side and there at that corner of Manatee Avenue West is also proposed to be commercial. Here is a map. I know it's not the prettiest, but it does show that this area, this property is within our coastal high hazard area. And this is the second reason that this is coming before you with the land development agreement, because they are requesting that increase in density from what they're currently allowed to what they would like to go to within the coastal high hazard area. Our comprehensive plan was recently amended to allow for this density increase as long as they are meeting one of these criteria here. This comes from language that is in a state statute. A mitigation plan was provided by the applicant regarding hurricane evacuation procedure for the proposed development. We are expecting some amendments to that plan to come through prior to the second hearing. The applicant may be able to speak to this more because they are here in the audience today with more specificity regarding these evacuation times that are called out in this policy. This is just the policy that we have in our comprehensive plan that explains that a development agreement is the avenue that shall be used, approved by the City Council prior to or concurrent with the adoption of a proposed map amendment. So this is coming to you along with that map amendment. You'll have the first reading is today for that map amendment. The public hearing will be at the next City Council meeting. The development agreement includes a hurricane mitigation plan, provides that binding conceptual site plan that you've seen, limits the developer to 345 dwelling units. And then these next 2 points are what you have before you that changed just slightly, just to clarify about that the project will include the infrastructure repair and redevelopment, including for those seawalls along Wares Creek, and then also solidifying in that development agreement that they will be providing a public park. And that is what we have for the staff report. I also do want to point out we have conflict attorney Angela Angelo here if we have any legal questions and concerns. Thank you.
All right. Hear from the applicant.
Good morning, Mayor and Council. Paige Stewart here. I'm with ZNS. I'm here on behalf of the applicant. I actually have a presentation, but it encompasses the comp plan amendment and the development agreement together. So I don't know if you want to open both agenda items or how that would work. I don't want to go ahead and present on the comp plan amendment without that agenda item being open, so completely up to you all.
Mayor, in talking with the planning department about this, I think it might be, if we can do that, and that's going to be a legal question that Erica might need to answer, but one is related to the other.
Correct.
And it's kind of important that you understand it. Ms. Schrindelwolf did put up a slide that kind of pointed that out, but it probably wasn't particularly noticed that it has to be done concurrent or prior to.
Right.
Take it from there.
From a
Yep,
purely
yep,
legal
yep.
perspective, you can open up both agenda items. Typically, a land development agreement is ran as a legislative decision. However, because of the increased density bonus, it will have to be run as a quasi-judicial proceeding for the 4 criteria that are required for that density bonus. In order to be most efficient or effective, you might want to open both up, run that all as quasi-judicial, but then there will be, I would suggest, 3 different motions for approval. 1 motion for approval for the future land use map change, 1 motion for approval for the increased density, and 1 motion for approval for the land development agreement as a whole. And they are all conditioned on each other.
And not today, correct? This is all first
Right,
reading.
for first reading, correct. But just so that you are aware of the procedure kind of going through this process, that is kind of what the parties have discussed and makes the most sense from a
So
legal
what do we have to do now to her to be able to talk about both? Open up D also?
But I would open up D as well, and then it will be run as a quasi-judicial hearing.
So do we need to have the clerk read D into the record, or just, okay. So we'll do that, we'll have the clerk
You
read.
want Jamie to present on D, and then I can come up and present on both as the
Is there
applicant?
any more to present, Jamie? She doesn't look like there's more to present. No. So what she's already presented. So. Okay, so Madam Clerk, if you'll read D, and then we'll have them both open on the record.
This is the first reading for ordinance 4067, an ordinance of the City of Bradenton, Florida, amending the City of Bradenton Comprehensive Plan Future Land Use Map to designate certain land generally located west of 15th Street West, north of 6th Avenue West, and south of Manatee Avenue West, identified as parcel ID 3354500109, and more particularly described herein, containing approximately 3.9464 acres and owned by Manatee County, from the Urban Central District UCBD Future Land Use category to the Urban Core URB-CORE Future Land Use category, providing for applicability, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date.
Thank you.
All right, as I said earlier, Pages Agribia, I'm a Manatee County resident. I've been sworn here today as the agent for the applicant on small-scale comprehensive plan map amendment for the old City Hall site and the local development agreement that is going along with that. I'm going to introduce our team. Everybody's here today to answer questions that you have after this. Applicant is Amara's Investments in the Developers Allen Morris Company. Myself and Nathan Crott are here from ZNS. He's the civil engineer and I'm the planner. Bill Galvano and Bill Clegg are our legal counsel here. Michael Yates is here with Palm Traffic, and Chris Kennedy from Kimley Horn is here for environmental. This site is located at the intersection of Manatee Avenue and 15th Street West. It is across the street from the Bradenton Financial Center. DeSoto Towers is directly to the south, and Westminster's to the north. Currently has a future land use designation of Urban Central Business District, and it is Zone T5. And this is a graphic representation of what our small-scale comprehensive map amendment is. That's what this is our request. We just want to extend the urban core designation right across the street so that instead of being Urban Central Business District, we would be urban core. This is the Florida statute that governs small-scale comprehensive map amendments. And when we submitted our application for this comp plan amendment, we did what's called a community impact report, which is a pretty intensive analysis of the site. So as I go through the presentation, I just want to bring that in front of you just to kind of put a little bit of information out about the different aspects that we did analysis on when we were going through our application, and we put it in front of staff. The first thing we looked at was the visual impact analysis. This proposed development is a visual improvement to the currently vacant space that's there. It's going to be located among existing multi-story buildings. You've got DeSoto Towers, which is 12 stories tall. The Bradenton Financial is 10, and Westminster is 6 stories at one part and 10 stories at another. For visual compatibility, it is going to be located in the T5 transect zone, and so we're going to be governed less any adjustments that are requested during the form-based code review. It will be governed by those T5 standards, and it's also got incorporated in the design at present some lovely green space areas, which I'll also talk about a little bit later in the presentation. We also did a land use assessment. North is Res High and UCBD. South is UCBD. West is none. It borders Wares Creek. And then east is UC. Now, per the comprehensive plan, the urban core does provide a hub for economic development and civic uses. So a change to UC here would really support the city's revitalization efforts in the downtown area. It provides that mixed-use variety, and that's what we're coming to you with this development and with this application for a change to UC. And as Jamie described, the increased density, what we are allowed for by right in UCBD is 148 units. What we would be, asking for is 345, but if underneath UC, with City Council approval, we would be allowed 200, again, with your approval, but we would not be asking for that. That would be 789 units. We are proposing 345 on the site. We also did a traffic study here at the site. There is an increase in trips, but this location is in a transportation concurrency exception area. It's in an urban pedestrian area. It's also located adjacent to a transit stop. There's one right across the street, and there is proposed bicycle parking on site. And in line with parking, we also are providing on-site parking for the multifamily uses, all commercial uses proposed on-site, as well as the proposed public park. In fact, the developer's making a $12 million investment in the parking garage for the multifamily residential uses and the commercial uses proposed. Plus, the parking spaces are governed by the City of Bradenton's land use regulations, so we would be following all the requirements for the uses based on those land use regulations. We also did an environmental impact assessment. No significant adverse impacts to state or federal listed species were anticipated. We are going to have some wetland impacts. There's 0.04 acres of mangrove wetland impacts because the seawall is in disrepair. It needs to be rebuilt at a higher elevation for flood prevention, and it needs reconstruction. Mangrove wetlands have been previously impacted and disturbed by historical shoreline alterations, and so they do exhibit reduced value and function, and mitigation is going to be provided through the purchase of mitigation credits, consistent with state and federal permits for the project. We also did an area impact analysis, and that was just kind of a general look at the area. We're proposing on-site right now multifamily uses, restaurant, offices, coffee shop, and a public pedestrian park. These are all these uses that are proposed in this one mixed-use facility. It's really an excellent infill opportunity. The map amendment is a logical extension of urban core. It's right across the street. We're not breaking contiguity with that district, and assigning this property urban core would really allow for that increased density and that increased mixed-use opportunity for the site. We also did a hurricane evacuation analysis. It is located in evacuation zone A. A zone residents are the first ones to evacuate during a hurricane natural disaster, and we did do a draft local development agreement. That's also on the agenda today, included for review, and it includes a hurricane mitigation plan as an exhibit, and we're currently working with staff on refining the language of that development agreement and the plan. So it should be ready by the time the second review or the second reading is in a couple of weeks. The development agreement is required as part of the density increase request, and Jamie went through the requirements for that. And then per Florida statute, the agreement also memorializes the mitigation plan for the increased density. So just to wrap up, visually the project is an improvement to the current vacant space, and it's going to fit really well with the existing multi-story nearby buildings. Assigning urban core to the site provides for an infill redevelopment opportunity in town, and it really is a logical extension of urban core right across the street. That urban core designation allows for the higher density than would be for UCBD, and it also accommodates for a higher number of multifamily units, providing more residential units in the city. Along with multifamily, the development's also proposing commercial uses, public park, and a parking garage on site for all those uses. And then the urban core designation on the site allows for a true mixed-use walkable community. It activates the riverfront right there. It's really promoting this really great mixed-use development downtown. And it perfectly aligns with the city's goals for enhancing the downtown area. So with that, we really appreciate your review. Here, my team or myself, we're here to answer any questions.
Any questions? Or now, Mr. Rudicello, when we do the public hearing, we'll do them each individually, or can we do it together?
Ms. Arguello is the conflict counsel on this.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Just go ahead and hold a public hearing
On both, okay. Yep. All right, thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes,
when do we get to talk about it?
we can talk, do the public hearing.
Okay.
And then we'll talk about it. All right, at this time, we'll open the public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak? Anyone wishing to speak? Anyone wishing to speak? Hearing none, we'll close the public hearing. Councilwoman Moore.
Just a couple of things that I wanted to point out. Number one, the traffic, well, first, let me just say this. I want all of our infill projects to be successful. So any of my comments are aimed towards making sure that that's where we land, is success. I think everyone knows that this area is a super choke point for traffic coming eastbound, especially in the late afternoon. I raise that because, again, aiming for success, I feel like that really has to be addressed, not only from just a quality of life issue for everyone there, but also if we are, because we're in the coastal high hazard, we have to take the hurricane evacuation plan seriously. And not only are we looking at this particular development and those units being able to evacuate safely, but this corner, this little area of Manatee and 6 are also the point of exit for evacuation for pretty much all of Northwest Bradenton. And so in a hurricane situation, my concern is that you're going to see people piling up right there as everyone's trying to evacuate. So I would really like to see, and the traffic, I think the traffic study that you all included paints a stark picture about how we're going to address that. So I feel like that absolutely has to be more definitively addressed. And then my second comment is, so where, I'm sorry, Ms. Schindewolf, where were we adding this language? Where these revisions were made to paragraphs 3? Is that right? 3B and D?
Yeah, I don't have
That's
that.
okay.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's
I think I
the letters
figured it
line
out.
up though, yeah, and the B and the D.
I think it is. So the revision to paragraph 3B in the land development agreement, I guess I'm looking for some specificity regarding the inclusion of the parenthetical that says subject to mutually accepting funding agreement with city and/or CRA. What if we don't have a mutually acceptable funding agreement? Then what happens? And what's that?
And that provision would fall out. It's a condition provision.
So that means that then they would not have to.
Yeah, you're going to have to come up to the microphone if we're going to.
Then that provision would not be, it's a condition provision, so it would not be approved without the condition. If there is no approved funding, then that condition or that provision would fall out of the land development agreement. So it is something that you're going to want to consider when you're considering approving the land development agreement.
Is it safe to say that if, in the scenario that there is not a mutually acceptable agreement for funding with the city and/or CRA, and this provision falls out based on the level of the construction of the project, that the city potentially would have to engage in some repairs to the seawall at its own expense?
I mean, I think that's a fair assumption.
So then just to round that up, I feel like that also would have to be addressed before.
All right, I'm going to talk a little bit about traffic. We talk about traffic, everything we do, which is very important, and traffic is very crucial. But when you look at it, one of the most important things when we are doing evacuations and that people listen to the evacuation, and if they're in an A zone, leave. Get out when you can. In the mornings, traffic isn't as bad coming into town from areas, and at night, it's worse leaving. So some of those things, I think the evacuation zones are very important, have to be addressed, but you also have to look at, people are going to have to heed the advice when it's coming. Sure. In 2024, I had a friend that didn't heed the advice and had his 7 and 9-year-old on the top of the dresser when 4 feet of water was in his house. Didn't know what he was going to do. But you got to heed the advice. And we stress that, and that's what I probably stressed the most on all of the national TV commercials I did. But the reason I say that is because people, I think, will listen a little more for a little while longer now. We go 5 more years, 10 more years, people aren't going to listen, and then they're going to have to, deal with it. But I think when you look at, traffic is relevant. When we're having a hurricane and we're having bad weather, people are going to be able to get out of there. And it's, going to show how they get out and where we go. The traffic with the police department, with the fire department, will be out directing them. So to maybe make a decision only on that, I think is the wrong avenue to go. But I think when you're looking at things, we really got to focus on what we want to do for our urban core and downtown, and that's build more walkability. We just approved a contract with the EDC for the rest of this year, We went to some seminars. That's the biggest part. Heads and beds, walkable area, and this builds on that again, creating it. And it actually creates less traffic for the 99.9% of the time of the year that we want, because people will be able to walk. There'll be retail. That's what we're building. So I don't disagree with what you're saying, but I think we also got to look at the positives.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Well outweigh
I want
anything
it
to be there.
succeed,
Yeah.
100%.
So, and again, we heard the lady today said that we were going to do it for a developer, but we didn't even know who the developer was. So, maybe we did and we should have, but it's not all about only the developer. It's about the project that's going to help the city and the community grow into other things. I don't see any other cards up, so.
Well,
okay, Ms.
Only,
Vice Mayor
only
Coker.
other thing, completely agree with everything you just said. The only thing is, we are a tree city, and this is our fault with that. We've talked about changing the zoning. I don't want us to look like a concrete jungle, and I don't see any trees. I know these are just renderings, but with the form-based code, it really limits what they can do for trees. And I don't know how we accommodate that, but I just don't, I'm excited about everything that we're doing. I just want to make sure we have trees left.
Well, I think we don't want to turn what the building on 14th Street is, that looks like.
The Rubik's Cube?
Yeah.
No.
And that's understood and something we'll take into consideration. I do want to say architectural standards are part of the criteria that when you're looking at this LDA for the additional density, and so if you feel that trees are important. They did not include in their package materials the building elevations. They have presented those here today. They have a little note on there to say not for approval. However, to the degree that those are a factor in your decision of compliance with the architectural standards, we can make sure that those are included in the final development agreement. If you recall, for 920 Manatee, we came back to you when they changed their elevations, because after it goes through the whole approval process of the site improvement plans and everything else that we have to, and the form-based code review, those could change, and so we will bring them back to you, but there should be something in there that supports your decision on whether or not you're going to approve this on second reading with respect to the building elevations.
I just don't want, and I don't want to single them out. I'm just
Right.
really talking more in generality, because
But you do have the ability, if you feel that that is necessary to meet the criteria, to impose that kind of stipulation, or say that, you want it built according to these elevations, but as far as pedestrian and mobility issues, maybe tree cover is an
And
important
there's
issue.
a park along the.
Yeah.
I know,
Creek, so that-
yeah.
Most of the landscaping is shown along the back where they have the public park, and they have the courtyard towards the front as well. Also, just to reiterate, was said in the petitioner's presentation, of course, we weren't planning on presenting the full comp plan amendment, but just to reiterate, the T5 zoning is not changing. The T5 regulates building height, and it regulates to a greater degree the building uses, and that's not changing. So whatever they could build before in those terms, it's just the increase in density that's really accomplished through the comp plan amendment, so.
Thank you. So this is just the first reading and public hearing. So do we go, what's the date we put on this?
May 27th.
Yep. So this will come back to us May 27th. We don't have to do anything else, right? Today.
Do you typically move to vote it forward on first reading?
No, we don't.
Then, yeah, nothing else you have to do today.
All right. Madam Clerk, moving forward.
This is the second reading and public hearing for ordinance 4072, an ordinance of the City of Bradenton, Florida, annexing into the City of Bradenton certain real property contiguous thereto, generally located east of 50th Street West and approximately 70 feet south of Manatee Avenue West. Identified as 507 50th Street West, the parcel ID is 3629100003, and 509 50th Street West. The parcel ID is 3629000005, and more particularly described herein, containing approximately 0.397 acres total and owned by Shiv Om PL and Ziva Ray LLC respectively, providing for findings of fact, providing for amendment of the city boundaries, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date.
Thank you. Still good morning, City Council. Again, I am Jamie Schindewolf. I am here to present the staff report for this case and from city staff, planning staff, and I have been sworn. So yes, before you today is the second reading and public hearing regarding Ordinance 4072, a request for a voluntary annexation into the city of Bradenton. This is, these properties represent approximately 0.02 miles. They're just south of Manatee. Hold on. These are two parcels, that are approximately 0.02 miles south of Manatee Avenue West, located along 50th Street West. The purpose of this annexation ultimately is to redevelop these properties into a larger medical office and accompanying parking. Here is the Florida statute that governs voluntary annexations. And here you can see the location of these two subject parcels right there south of Manatee Avenue West. Just for your information, the current zoning that is adjacent to those parcels is suburban commercial corridor, and the future land use that is adjacent matches that. You will hear, today is the first reading, and then there will be a public hearing and second reading to designate these parcels with a zoning and future land use category, provided that you do approve the annexation. That will come before you in a few weeks. So when considering an annexation, the applicant is required to supply an annexation feasibility study. So I'll go through those criteria. This application does not create an enclave. The parcel north of these subject properties is located within the jurisdiction of the city of Bradenton. These parcels are contiguous to land that's already under Bradenton's jurisdiction, so this is not a leapfrog extension of the boundaries. This annexation does not create a pocket of unincorporated land. It does not create a newly irregular city boundary because areas along Manatee Avenue West have historically been annexed into the city. Regarding public services, a facilities report was attached to your staff report created by Irvin Lee, our Public Works Director. This memorandum addresses in detail the provision of public services for this parcel. Manatee County will be providing potable water and sanitary sewer. And the applicant did also provide a fiscal impact assessment indicating that this annexation should result in additional, the applicant stated $3,372.61, just as an estimate, into city coffers with little additional need for service. As stated, amendments to future land use and zoning will be coming before you for first reading today and then the ultimate hearing in a few weeks. And that is all that I have for you. From a staff perspective, we do have a representative of the applicant here as well, if you have any questions for either staff or the applicant, and they are also prepared to present. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Gauze.
Oh, I thought you were laughing. No. Like, I like Bob.
Oh, thank you, council people. I appreciate it.
Could you please
allowing me to
adjust
be
your
here.
microphone, Mr. Goss?
All right.
Thank you.
My name is Bob Gauze with Gauze & Associates. I have been sworn. I'm joined here by one of the owners, Dr. Patel. He and his wife actually own the LLCs that own the properties. You've already gotten a very good presentation about what we're doing and that we've submitted the feasibility analysis, and so I'm just going to kind of try and talk to you a little bit about the why. I've just got, this is sort of a picture of the Manatee Avenue, and you can see you've got city properties and commercial and professional zonings along it. This sort of started as a thing, Dr. Patel, he owns a business there. You see that I've kind of shown the property lines. It shares a driveway with the professional property that fronts on Manatee Avenue. They both take access off of 50th Street. And basically he wanted to make improvements and expand his office. And unfortunately, Manatee County Comprehensive Plan has a provision in it that says that thou shalt not increase any non-residential use if it's not on a functionally classified road. And it doesn't matter if you're only 100 feet off of that functionally classified road, thou shalt not do it. And we met with county staff to talk about doing it, what we wanted to do. And bottom line is they just said, you can't do it, the comp plan doesn't allow it. But, you know, you're right there, the city of Bradenton's right there next to you, annex into them, which is sort of the why we're here. The other parcel, which is adjoining the first parcels, is actually a single-family residential unit, but it's actually used more as a VRBO and also as a part-time real estate office. So that's, and it's, the first parcel's got a future land use designation of ROR, retail, office, residential. This one has a Res 6. The first one has a zoning of, I think, PRM, and this one has a zoning of RSF 4.5. And we'll be asking for suburban commercial corridor, future land use and zoning, assuming you annex this into the city of Bradenton. So as Jamie's already told you, the feasibility plan has been provided. It's been reviewed by staff. They agree that we've met the criteria. The facilities report that's been added has offered no objections. We're basically going to still be, using Manatee County water and sewer, but we'll be switching to City of Bradenton solid waste, police, and fire. Is sort of how it's going to be. In the stormwater, you probably didn't notice it, but there's actually a storm drain just barely north of the driveway that will be required to tie into for the stormwater, which be its own separate challenge because how you deal with that. But we're consistent with the designations of the adjacent property. The property is already used for non-residential purposes, but this is what's going to allow them to redevelop the properties. It will also provide additional property taxes for the city of Bradenton, so that's always good. And we were unanimously recommended for approval by the Planning Commission on April 13th or 15th. And other than that, if you have any questions, I'm here to try and answer them. Thank you.
Any questions? We do have a public hearing. We'll do that first. Let's open the public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak? Anyone wishing to speak? Anyone wishing to speak? Hearing none, we'll close the public hearing. Questions, or Chair will entertain a motion?
You want me to do it? Okay.
Right, is it?
Sorry, I'm dealing with this.
I thought it was first reading.
Okay.
No, this is second reading.
Oh, it is?
The other two are first reading.
I need to get the motion. Hold on. I got it. Okay.
Vice Mayor Coker.
The wrong one?
It says no action is required, first reading.
No, this is ordinance 4072.
Am I on the wrong one?
Yeah,
No, I think.
Sorry.
Wait.
40, okay. Let me see it.
4072.
Okay, I make a motion to approve ordinance 4072.
Second.
All right. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll start the vote in Ward 1,
Yes.
2,
Yes.
3,
Yes.
4,
Yes.
5.
Yes.
Carries 5-0. Thank you. Now we're going to the first readings. Since that got approved, now we can do the next two. So, Madam Clerk.
This is the first reading for ordinance 4073, an ordinance of the City of Bradenton, Florida, amending the City of Bradenton Comprehensive Plan Future Land Use Map to designate certain land generally located east of 50th Street West and 70 feet south of Manatee Avenue West, identified as parcel ID 3629100003 and 3629000005, and more particularly described herein, containing approximately 0.397 acres and owned by Shiv Om PL and Ziva Ray LLC, respectively, under the Suburban Commercial Corridor Future Land Use category, providing for applicability, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date. And the second reading and public hearing will be on May 27th.
Okay.
Item G is the first reading for ordinance 4074, an ordinance of the City of Bradenton, Florida, providing for an amendment to the City of Bradenton Land Use Atlas to designate certain land generally located east of 50th Street West and 70 feet south of Manatee Avenue West, identified as parcel ID 3629100003 and 3629000005, and more particularly described herein, containing approximately 0.397 acres and owned by Shiv Om PL and Ziva Reg LLC respectively, under the suburban commercial corridor zoning category, providing for applicability, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date. And the second reading and public hearing for ordinance 4074 will also be on May 27th.
Thank you. All right. Nothing else on the agenda I see other than going to council reports. And we'll start in Ward 4.
Okay. Very excited about the, I'm sure everyone already, I know you all know this, the ribbon cutting for the Singing River Public Art in the Mineral Springs Park. So I hope that word has gone out about that and that we'll see a good showing today for that. This week is also the Tampa Bay Regional Planning Council's annual summit. It is taking place at the Palmetto Convention Center, and I'll be attending, and I look forward to seeing you all at the Future of the Region Award Luncheon on Friday. And also, I think some of us are participating in the summit, which I think is great. This year's agenda is quite varied from previous years, so I think that the topics are going to kind of span some more interesting, not more interesting than previously, but just a wide variety, including economic redevelopment, workforce house development, and food security. I had a couple of, I wanted to suggest, if I could, I know Mr. Perry and I have talked about it, but after our workshop regarding the EDC, that item on the workshop, I thought it was a great conversation. I agree with Mr. Perry that even though maybe it was a little painful, it got us into a better spot. And I really, again, as I said in the workshop, I appreciated Ms. Cords and Mr. Landefeld and Ms. Parrish's what I perceive to be a very responsive engagement in the time period between our last meeting and the workshop. But one of the comments that Ms. Parrish made in the workshop has stuck with me, which is that we each have our own ideas of what we want to see being developed around. And I know the workshop was running late, but I would like to see us have a conversation where that's what we talk about, like as I kind of jokingly say, like the hopes and dreams, so that we can give them some direction in connection with their work. I have two things that I haven't mentioned that just literally came up. One Mr. Perry and I did just touch very briefly on, and then the other one is new because I just heard from someone this morning asking me to raise it. So I'll go with that one first because it's new, and also it's really maybe not necessarily something we need to discuss today, but just something I've been hearing, which is I have not asked staff to confirm this, but I've heard from a couple of the merchants on Main Street that are reducing the hours of alcohol sales is not actually in line with the county's rules. And that's the part I haven't confirmed, so I don't know if that's true. But what I'm hearing from them is an economic hardship that this has created, not necessarily for them, but for their staff. So from their perspective, staff now, without having those hours available to them to work, they're struggling with their staff. So I raised that, just maybe we can all just talk to staff singularly to see if there's an appetite for revisiting that to make sure we accomplished what we thought we were accomplishing. And again, I haven't done a deep dive because that just came up this morning. So I'm raising it now and seeing where it goes from there. And then finally, the thing that Mr. Perry and I talked briefly about was City Hall relocation after the workshop and what our thoughts were, and that the building plans that staff is pursuing are flexible, that give us some flexibility regarding where we put it. And I just wanted to express to you all that I know it's not a done deal, and I don't even know how much of it is appropriate for me to talk about at this time because we haven't closed on anything. But to the extent that we're exploring our options on 13th Street with the acquisition of what I'm calling the Wilcox property, I would like to see us really pursue that as a permanent location for City Hall. And my thinking behind that is, I think it could help. To back up a little bit, it is my opinion that there are some intangible or unquantifiable things that a downtown needs to be thriving. And one of them is the presence of a City Hall that is representative of what we kind of want to say that Bradenton is, to the community and to people outside of the community. And I think because I think a City Hall site is important when it comes to economic development and a vibrant downtown, I believe it could have some help in activating 13th Street as part of the core, if that was the site that we chose to pursue. So I think that it has that benefit. It's still so, it checks the box of being downtown, and we think that we can build what we might need there. So I just wanted to throw that out there to you all to let you know that the more I think about it, given time constraints and whatnot, I would like to see us talk to staff about really actively looking at what that would look like to make that a permanent site. And that's all I've got.
All right, thank you. Ms. Coachman?
As we have been having of late, some really great discussions in our council meetings or workshops. Just to kind of piggyback on what Councilwoman Moore just said in terms of City Hall, I wish we did have time to have more conversation. The workshop, it was like number 4, and we had already kind of beaten a few horses. But I would like to see us have more discussion on that as well. And other than that, just saying it's, wow, a friendly city. It is moving. And with that, I will just simply say Ward 5 is alive.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Coker.
Yeah, couple of things. Couple of things that I've been thinking about, and I think we've actually addressed here, but I'd like to see us start maybe putting some teeth on this bone. Or meat on the bone and teeth on the something, whatever it is.
We're hungry.
Meat on the bone.
Lunchtime.
And I've actually spoken, and I wish that Chief Thayer could have been present because I've been talking to him about it. But the e-bikes has become a problem. We had a resident from Village Green who was struck on the sidewalk there at Staples, and I think we've got to, I don't know if it needs to be addressed at the state level. If it does, then let's get pushing on that. Or what we need to do, but somebody's going to be killed. I mean, it's crazy on that river walk. I've been down there a few times and almost gotten hit by him. And even in my neighborhood, there's a couple of kids that are out there. They are definitely not street worthy. They don't have the proper lighting or signaling or any of that stuff. And they're riding them on sidewalks. And they are, the sidewalks this will open up a whole nother can of worms, in Village Green are actually not real wide. They're quite small. And so, anyhow, I'd like to get a plan together to start doing what we can to address that. The other thing is, I've been noticing some news recently about deaths from kratom, and I know that we've discussed in the past talking about getting rid of it, but that there was discussion that some of it was legal and some of it's not, and how do you determine? I think Sarasota has just gotten rid of all of them, and I would be in favor of that. Now, we recently had just a horrific tragedy in Village Green on 11th Avenue where one of our residents was struck at our mailbox. It was very tragic, and it's tragic So many lives have been touched by this and ruined. It was, as I understand, and I understand it's probably still being investigated, it was not a question of speed, but that the driver was impaired. So it's not, but it has certainly started a big uprising in that neighborhood. And I spoke with Chief Bears, and 11th Avenue is a big cut through between 59th and 75th Street. So I've got requests for speed bumps, all kinds of speed enforcement, but I think that what might be reasonable would be to put a stop sign there on 11th Avenue, right where city and county transition. And, but of course, I just heard that traffic engineer earlier say that putting a stop sign makes people speed more in between. So I'm not an expert on that, but I think that, I don't know. I'd like to address my concern, the residents' concerns for that section, and I don't know how to do it best.
Okay,
That's it.
all right, thank you.
So that's just like my 3 minutes and nobody discusses it?
Well, when it's our
Okay.
turn. When it's our turn.
I mean-
Okay.
Ms. Barnaby?
So we'll discuss it at the end, is that what you're
Yeah,
saying?
when I'm ready, when I get my turn, I'll talk about stuff.
Okay, all right. If I could ask Ms. Melton to help me with something so that you all can see it. I am a very proud sustaining member of the Service Club of Manatee County, and there's active members and there's sustaining members. Active members are the ones that actually go out and are doing most of the work at this point in time now. And sustaining members means that we live through our 8 years, and I jokingly say the Marine Corps lets you out after 4, but Service Club, you stay in for 8. We recently had a gala, and the purpose for the gala is to provide funding for children throughout Manatee County, and it is we support different organizations that provide that service. So if you look at this list, you will see not only ones that you would expect to see, but maybe some that you have not heard of before. And the fact that this year we came so close to reaching almost $200,000 in 1 year, we're very proud of that. Just so you also know, that has to be spent in Manatee County. So if you're looking and you see the Haven or you see Sarasota Orchestra or things of that nature, that is for scholarships for Manatee County children to attend those organizations or those services. So I just want to tip of the hat to the Service Club. And since I became involved in it, one of the things that I asked them to do is to figure out how many millions we have raised. And it is in the millions. So thank you, ladies, for all of your hard work with that and for supporting the kids in Manatee County. At this meeting, while we talked about Jerry West at another activity that we had, Jerry West was the planning director for the city of Bradenton for a very, very long time. And when Mark and I got married and moved back to Bradenton, Jerry West was one of them that went to Mark and said, I want to have you involved in the Florida Planning and Zoning Association. And Mark got very involved with that, which meant 4 to 5 times a year, he had to attend a dinner somewhere in the state of Florida, and my children and I discovered where every McDonald's was on the interstate. So Jerry loved this community, and many of the things that we kind of take for granted today was brought about because of Mr. West's influence. I remember, and it was a very difficult thing for me to do, I remember going in with him in the historic building that was Asman's department store, and there was living facilities above it. This is where Central Cafe is now.
Oh.
And Jerry had someone that wanted to save the building but needed additional time and wanted, I guess he thought I was going to be the proponent to tear it down. I don't know why. But he took me in there to show me exactly what was going on in the building and why saving the building was important, but also not allowing what was going on in that building to continue. And you want to know about it later, it's not polite company talk, let me just put it that way. But Jerry was the reason that building and many others were saved here in Bradenton. And he promoted us becoming a tree city. And I just think that attention needs to be paid when we have an employee that did as much as he did to the community that we need to stop and remember. And the last, Mr. Williams is not here. I think he might have gotten wind of something. Today is his birthday.
Were you going to sing?
I was not planning on singing, particularly since he's not here. But we do want to wish Mr. Williams a very happy birthday. He does a lot for our city and our staff and us as elected officials. And the final thing I have to say is we recently had a workshop. And sometimes I think in workshops we get a little, it's not quite as formal, so to speak. And I interrupted one of my colleagues, and I want to apologize for that.
No need.
Because I do respect you professionally. I think you bring a lot to this council, and I was kind of embarrassed at myself.
Oh.
So I sincerely apologize.
Well, thank you. You are such a mentor, and no need, no offense taken.
Thank you. Mr. Schuessler.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I did want to mention, Ms. Gonzalez-Moore mentioned the Singing River ribbon cutting. I wanted to mention the time. That's at 3 p.m. Really looking forward to it because, as everyone may know, it is between Mineral Park and so it's kind of a go-between the old and what's to come. So it's not just about the art, it's about community. It's not just about local. It is also about visitors to come and see what Bradenton is all about. So I'm looking forward to that. Also wanted to mention on Saturday, the City of Bradenton Community Redevelopment is conducting a study of the old Main Street area, and it's not just about Old Main Street, it's around 12th Street, 13th, to better understand the downtown's ongoing evolution. So they are asking to bring your ideas and insights to help plan the future of downtown Bradenton. And that is at, I believe, Dr. Burton, it's at the NDC building, 1008 4th Avenue from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. And that is a community redevelopment agency along with the University of South Florida. And, speaking of traffic, I have received a couple phone calls this week, and last week it seems to be the, just about every month regarding 7th Avenue and the cut through and bypassing Manatee Avenue, 7th Avenue specifically between 22nd and Virginia Drive as a go around for and the speeding that is going on along there and potential new stop signs. To those that I've spoken to and a couple that I have yet to speak to, I do know that we are doing a traffic study up and around that bridge and around Wares Creek. And so it's data driven, and that is something that we are looking at.
All right, thank you. Since you brought that up last, I know there's been times when we've asked the staff begrudgingly sometimes to put up a stop sign because the traffic study might not justify it. But we still believe in the traffic studies because you look on 11th, it's, we can't police our way out of bad. And that was a bad thing that happened, and it was a bad person doing it, and impaired and what so on. And it was a neighbor. It was lived real close. So a lot of times things happen in neighborhoods because of bad people. And I did like what the traffic engineer said earlier. Sometimes a stop sign, in my opinion, then makes the traffic even more unsafe because of speed. Because you get the people that will stop and go, and we had we had a death a couple of weeks ago at a stop sign on 43rd Street because the person ran the stop sign. But we're never going to stop that stuff. But we do need to manage it better. Our police department is looking into ways. You're looking at things, and it's terrible that what happened, to a person that was just living out their life at a certain age, and, a bad person did something. And hopefully, whatever happens to that person, they deserve, but they also get help from their bad play or whatever. But obviously, we know that stuff is being looked at. Chief and I've talked about some different things, and jurisdictions are different there because the street goes halfway county, halfway city. So, but speed humps wouldn't have probably changed that. It would slow them down, hopefully. But anyway, so that's the traffic. I'll use the terminology closing time as a thing, and I've heard both ways from different people. Some of the staff like getting off a little earlier because it feels safer to them now, where it wasn't safe to them at the beginning. I've also talked with some of the suppliers, and the word that I've got from those suppliers is every business is up considerably this year. Now, I think some of that might have to do with COVID or last year, storms, COVID, everything, people are getting back to it. We heard that. So safety is our number one thing, and I think that has been addressed. Now, we do not want to take away 30, because all we did was take away 30 minutes a day. Well, when you add up 30 minutes times 365, it adds up. So we're thinking about that. But I think still safety is more what I've heard. And, one of the things that you all know has been very top priority on my list since I become mayor is safety on Main Street, because we were having gang fights. We were having things that would hurt worse than what we did with the timing. And I really believe that by doing the cafe licenses, by doing the other things that we had done with them to help the businesses thrive, and also get more sustainable family-type businesses that will be there. And obviously with this property, as it comes online with more retail, we're seeing that a little bit. So, I think that's a great concern, but it's also the safety has been addressed. And we don't have 6 cops sitting down there every Friday and Saturday night all the time. But we will if we need to. So I don't want people thinking but it's been pretty good. When you mentioned about the county would push their nuisance law a little bit more, and every time they would nuisance a bad bar, where did they end up? On Main Street. So that was the rules that we tried to come up with to make it better. So I mean, that I'm giving you stuff that if you didn't know, you can tell them and they can hear. But I'm getting the calls at 2 o'clock in the morning at what's going on, and we saw the video at the time, and that was the 5th rendition of the video that Chief Bevan did. And I wanted to show the very first one, which showed bad, but they thought it wasn't good to do that. It was to show the one that showed our officers with hundreds of people around them, and thank goodness nothing happened. So, those type of things, I still think about that. And my wife and I don't drive. I drive this interior city 5 times a day. So I see the traffic. I go the cut-throughs, but I go the speed in the cut-throughs. And a lot of times, yesterday I had a person go around me. And, in that, because I was going 30 miles an hour, 25, whatever the speed was. So those things happen, but people have got to slow down in the neighborhoods. And again, I'll say it all day long, and I'm sure we're going to get a report pretty soon, but the speed cameras in our school zones are working. It's not about punishment, it's about going the speed limit. I saw officer posted 63 and a 30 the other day. Well, if you're going 63 and a 30, and I'm not saying that was a school zone, but if it is a school zone, I will vote for safety all day long, and that's important. City Hall, we have had 2 actual workshops on that. We had one a few months back, then we had one last week. So, and both of them are totally different and that's what I said all along, until sometimes you don't know what steps up next. I was not, as I went off the council, then to become mayor, I was not for moving City Hall out of downtown. That was very important to me, where, you know, and I saw some comments on Facebook that talk about, well, we shouldn't have got rid of this property on 14th Street. Well, if we truly want a City Hall, in my opinion, it needs to be downtown. And that's what we're working toward. But also, some of the things that we're doing is making sure that we get through all the programs we're going through, processes, building the stations we need, being out of this property so it can develop as quick as we can. We know that the police department will be moving sometimes towards the end of the year. That's why we've talked about the other areas to go, which we actually have a couple of ideas we're looking at, that if something doesn't work out, something else will work out. But, you know, as we go forward over the next 2 to 4 years, where is the economy? What is it? I mean, we keep hoping it'll pull back a little bit. It might. So we'll be able to, and other projects will be off the books to a point. So one of the things that's I'm the most proud of in this is not only our fiscal responsibility, but also making sure we're getting money to fix things that when we're not all sitting up here, that it's the next generation of council people and mayor will be able to say, wow, we're not trying to bail ourselves out. They did a good job. What do we got to do to go forward? And I appreciate Mr. Perry and Mr. Williams and all the staff, too many to name, but everybody's looking at that angle every day. So nobody's trying to hide anything. And I did bring up, and since we're on more on TV now, I did bring up at the workshop about removing the mayor's tiebreaker vote, so then the mayor can be able to maybe share a little information with the council, so we don't break any sunshine law. And then also, we've talked about this for years, back even before I was on the council, before 2013, it's some sort of term limits. And we let the citizens decide. If they decide, yes, it is what it is. I don't believe, and I've said this on the dais, I don't know since I've been mayor, but as a councilman, that 8 years is too short. 12 years is a good time. And again, if you want to sit out 4 years and run another 12, you can do it. That's how it's going to be worded. Then the council have to make sure we get it on the ballot. But I think that's very important that we put that on the ballot and let the citizens decide. And because, you know, some people, everybody that I know that's been up here has been great for their term limits in the past. But sometimes, you know, you want to make a change, and elections don't always do that. Did I miss anything, Ms. Coker? Answer all your questions? Okay, thank you.
Well, kind of.
Kind of, okay.
Well, no, actually, you didn't talk about Kratom or e-bikes.
So Kratom, I know the county, what we'll do is ask Captain to forward to Chief about getting what the county's doing, because the county was doing a lot of things, because that's an ordinance that would have to go concurrent with the county because of the way things curve and all that. So it was going hot for a while, and I haven't heard anything lately.
It has died off.
Yeah, so we can find out.
Like the flame.
Yeah, with the sheriff and that.
The problem we see is on our level is the testing, the field presumptive testing, and they're constantly changing. We saw it with spice. They constantly change the ingredients. Once they lock something in that this is illegal, they just change it. You know, so that's we'd have to get with the state and work with them.
Okay, so you can get some information from Chief on that
Yes,
for
sir.
next time. And then also the e-bikes, I know Chief Kramer, before he left because of the BAM Fest and different things, was looking into it. I know that's being looked at. Again, it comes down to the state has some laws that with bikes on river walks and all that, we have to make sure we're abiding by and doing things. But we can also put a speed limit on it. But, you know, it would be a little tougher, but that's stuff we've asked the police department to look at and is being addressed. And then just stupidity. We can't manage stupidity in those, because I saw somebody the other day.
Start trespassing them.
The other day that was, I mean, I don't remember who I was talking to, but I screamed, and they're, what? I mean, it was that close to one of those stupid e-bikes that was trying to go around the red light and get up, and the car was already going. And I mean, it made me sick to my stomach at the moment. So, but again, the car didn't do anything wrong. It was the e-bike not paying attention to the rules. You know,
Yeah.
stop at a red light.
They don't stop at stop signs. They
Mhm.
don't.
Yeah, but again, it's going to be hard for our police department to be everywhere 24/7, but we've got to come up with that and within regulations. Is that good? Anything else?
Wonderful.
So any staff? Nope.
I had one more thing.
Yes, ma'am, Ms. Barnaby.
Just one of my favorite sayings. Government can't make anybody any smarter, any better looking, or have more common sense, because if we could do it, we would do it, and somebody would figure out how to tax it.
And on that note, we'll be adjourned.
Oh, Mary Ann, you have great ones.